The following live broadcast was rated ESV PG. We're talking conspiracy. God knows what we're going to say. The views expressed in the following broadcast are strictly based on opinions and beliefs of the individuals on the panel. The information presented is meant for the purpose of discussion and does not possess any merit for education. Hello, everybody. On tonight's show, we're going to be talking about one of the things that goes around everybody's thoughts, everybody's world, that is conspiracy theories. What we believe sometimes, what we create for ourselves to believe that may just not be true. Are the people that come up with these conspiracies crackpots? Are they idiots? Are they dumb fucks? We don't know. But we're going to find out because some of them may have a deeper knowledge than we actually understand, and maybe they've been right all along. You guys ready to do this?
Ready.
All right. Well, that's good enough for me. Let's do it. I mean, oh my God. Aliens have instructed Google to collect all our data just so they can research us and find out all the information we need to do and then get into the elections and make sure those are altered so anybody they want to be president is, but we got another side of those that are eating babies and doing shit like that. And then 911, totally an inside job, no question about that. There are so many things in our lives that are conspiracies, not even just in political issues, which we will be discussing on this show for this show only. Political will be allowed. But whether it just be sometimes what you drink, what they put in food, what they do to try to manipulate humans as a whole. It's crazy. And the bad thing is sometimes you hear something so much, no matter how ridiculous, you start to believe it. And that's what brings us into our current topic, which is Prove It, a world of conspiracy. With so much stuff flying at us, and when you hear it all the time, how do you ever actually know what's true and what's not? Well, we're going to discuss with our panel that we have here tonight about all those things and more, because we all have different opinions. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a debunker. I don't believe a lot of these conspiracy theories, but there are some things that got a little bit of merit behind them, and we want to find out about that. Don't forget, while you're here, to like, share, subscribe, and follow. You can also join our panel live on the show simply by going to earshouldervoice.com/join. Other than that, we can't do a show without a panel, or else just me talking, which I think you've probably heard enough of that by now. So let's bring them in. All right, our first panelist tonight, please welcome back to the show. Usually we go by the king, but tonight he's the instigator. Bill, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, Keith. How are you?
I'm doing good. So why are you the instigator? I have to know that.
Well, I usually, like with conspiracy theories, I go both ways. But when I see someone's eating something up that you just know isn't true, yeah, I'm going to keep pushing it to them and feed it to them and make them believe that it's truer than what they think it is in their head.
So you kind of like play devil's advocate in a way.
I go both sides, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I've been doing through conspiracy theories, watching and going to certain places and meetings and readings and stuff like that for 25 years.
Yeah, it's. Now, do you ever come across things that are just too stupid for you to even fight for?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. I mean, they're just, hey, QAnon made sure that Donald Trump wasn't elected president. I mean, shit, come on.
I know it's crazy what they try to get people to believe out there. Brandon's here says we ain't ready for him on this one, and that is why we're ready for you, Brandon. And he also says, Bill, you go both ways, and good for you, bro. So he's happy about that. All right, let's bring in our next panelist. Please welcome a brand new panelist, and welcome to Ear Shoulder Voice. This is Dan. Dan, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I am absolutely amazing. So, Dan, what is your take on half the conspiracies that are going on out there?
I'm kind of on your side. I mean, I'm a debunker. I'm not, most of the stuff. I mean, I guess depending on where we start from, most of the things are just so outlandish. I mean, it's not even possible, So
Are there
on most of the topics, I mean, there are some things that maybe my opinion sways the other way, but
like give me an example of one you might subscribe to.
well. So we'll go with two of the biggest ones, maybe. So the moon landing or the Kennedy assassination. Moon landing, yeah, I believe we landed on the moon. On the moon. I don't think it was a conspiracy. Kennedy assassination. I mean, I guess that's believed and looked at many different ways, but for me, like Oswald was not the shooter. Yeah, he may have fired shots, but there were other people involved on that. That was, to me, that's a conspiracy.
Okay, but you do believe he's dead, of course, unlike
Oh
Elvis, who's
yes,
still
yeah,
alive and roaming around.
yeah.
All
Elvis
right.
and Tupac
And
yeah,
Tupac's there
They're-
too. I was going to
they're
say, yeah.
they're amongst us.
Elvis.
Uh,
Elvis.
Elvis. Brandon also says the Earth is flat and lizard men. You know what? Let's start there. Flat Earthers. Let's start with flat Earthers because that's a good one to bring up, Brandon. First of all, who subscribes to anything that has to do with a flat Earther? Nobody does. What do you think drives people to actually truly? These people, without question, believe the Earth is flat. What do you think is possibly the driving force behind that?
Well, they see pictures from outer space and they see the Earth, and they're only seeing one thing. They're seeing the picture and everything like that. Well, the whole thing is so at one point in time, you're going to see, as the Earth is revolving, you're going to see the United States and in Mexico and everything like that. And if you go to the other side, you're going to see the other side of the world. But these people still think if you go too far, you're going to fall off the end of the Earth. Well, if you can't see the whole Earth from that picture, then how does it exist? And I don't understand how they can think that.
I mean, I understood the whole flat Earth thing back in the Middle Ages. That made a little more sense to me. Because who did know? We didn't have any views of anything. You could easily believe that the universe was kind of circling us and we weren't actually a spherical ball. Because if you try to think logically, of course, it does make no sense that we're like the round planet. Why would we not fall upside down, etc.? If you're thinking back then before science was really involved.
Right.
But once science gets involved, do you think people like that, and this goes for quite a few conspiracies, do you ever think that they do it just because they want to try to prove science wrong? Like they don't believe in science. You can talk whenever you want.
You
Dan.
go into that has conflict of, which we really don't talk about, of religion. Religious people believe that God made everybody and everything like that, and your scientists believe that we evolved from the monkeys, and stuff like that. But even though everything here is to be proven, they still don't believe. They still believe that, it's God made everybody and stuff. So,
what benefit that you think there is to proving that religion is right and science is wrong? Does it actually benefit their lives at all in any way? And anybody out there, if you have a conspiracy theory that you're great with or have anything to chime in on here, we want to hear about it because this is a fascinating topic. People are so heartily believing in this stuff. It's a very fascinating topic. But do you think there's any benefit, Dan? I'll say.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what they would really be trying to prove by it. I mean, other than what you were just taught to believe from birth, or what the household you were raised in, or whatever your religious view is or political view, whatever it may be. I mean, I can't see. Okay, so you prove it wrong, then what? And that's what I say. That's
Right.
what I say with every conspiracy, with anything. If you see, if there's something you question and if you can identify a problem, have a solution. So what is it? What is the fix? Or if you are right. So
Yeah.
what are you proving?
What does it actually do for your life? Do you think there's anything it actually does for them? Do you think there's a reason they're trying to prove this, Bill?
well, there's a lot of people that religion is something serious in their life, and it keeps them sane. But you also have, when you go the other way, you have a lot of scientists, that are proving, hey, you know what, they were cavemen and blah, 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 and we came, but they believe in God. So there's your conflict a little bit there of, you believe in God, but you're proving right now that, there were cavemen and stuff like that and everything like that. So it goes back and forth. And like I told you, Keith, I go on both sides of a lot of things about saying, and there are things I don't understand. How can you be a scientist and say, hey, this is what happened, but I believe in God? And everyone has a different belief in the way they go with their religion, too. So,
And they do. I mean, religion ultimately can be one of the biggest conspiracy theories of all for everybody for pretty much the duration of our existence. Definitely. Brandon says we need must use all the money to fund a show where flat earthers go on a trip around the earth to find the edge and watch their brains melt. Yeah, and you know what? The thing is I think if they do that, your flat earthers would just be insisting that they were in a virtual reality environment. That it's all made up.
Yes, that exploration would be a conspiracy.
That
You're
would be one in itself.
yes, yeah. You're never going to appease them by any amount of information you give them, and I think that's just where all conspiracies start. I mean, you can turn anything you want into a conspiracy. I mean, however you want to spin it.
He also says that a lot of times it's just for their pride and vanity, the reason they want to debunk something. They want to show everyone they were right all along while we disagreed. The OG hipsters. I mean, really, minus the OG hipsters. I agree with every part of that. Because a lot of times that's what conspiracies develop. They want to prove they know something the rest of the world doesn't.
right.
And I think that's a big thing for them. And they're often started like by people sitting in their basement, not doing anything, coming up with some idea that they can create so that they'll get recognition. And that's going to bring us to another thing, which is called elections in a moment, and political stuff, because we will get there. Elena says she 100% thinks Christianity is a conspiracy theory. Religion, and we don't talk religion on these things a lot, but we are allowing everything for conspiracy theories. And Elena, I'm going to ask you how so. And I'm also going to ask the panelists on here, do you think religions such as Christianity are conspiracy theories?
I totally agree with Bill 100% on this. I go both ways on it. I do believe we have a God, we have a creator. But then again, you look at, like you said, you look at evolution, or, and anything, any of these biblical artifacts, and uh, um, anything taken out of the Bible. I mean, a lot of that has been proven. There is proof to a lot of it. A lot of it is still very questionable. It's hard that it's things that we've been taught and we've learned again since birth, that anything that or many things in the Bible that just defy the laws of physics, and we say, how did this happen? So that's where I question it. But then you look at, and then you follow evolution. If you believe in evolution, you believe, and what things have evolved or how they've evolved, then that totally, again, it kind of puts me in the middle, to where I can't say one way or the other. So I'm.
What about you, Bill?
Well, you look at our world, and you have every day, you have certain people think that they've seen a miracle, and certain things happen that might give you the idea that, hey, there is a God, a miracle just happened. One of my things that I can explain it to is my cousin. His son was born. His son had leukemia. They wrote him off. And somehow, after a couple of treatments, after a while, he beat leukemia. And he's now a preacher down in Kentucky. But on the other hand, there are so many terrible things that happen. And you sit there and wonder, if there's a God, why is he letting this happen?
Right. And it's a look for a reason. It's a look for an excuse, or something to make you feel good about yourself. Brandon says, every one of these theories is fueled by confirmation bias. Screw the 300 studies that prove me wrong. There's one that says I might be right. So, exactly on that. And that is the basis for most conspiracy theories. As long as you can find something to fit it. One thing you had mentioned, Dan, was about proof. And they find little things that prove certain things in Christianity, for example. Well, they did exist. But is the proof actually, did it exist in the way we believe it or learned it? Did it exist in the way of the conspiracy theory? Did it exist differently? I mean, let's face it, things like the Bible and stuff are a collection of a variety of stories. And any story told, a lot of us have played the telephone game in school, any school, where you start with a story and you have each person whisper that same story to the person behind them. By the time it gets out at the other end, totally different story.
Right. It's
And
like
that,
it's like the fish story. It's a fish story.
yeah.
It's yeah.
And sometimes you see the proof. Now, that proof was there. If I said I'm taking, I'm going to take a bottle of liquor with me on a walk. Well, that bottle of liquor may stay in the entire story, but the story is totally changed. So somebody comes across that bottle of liquor, which do they believe? At what point does that actually fit the story? And it's at the start. And that's where proof gets really hard. And that's the thing with conspiracies, it's really hard to prove them, and it's actually easier to disprove them than to prove
And
them.
you have a lot of people. You have a lot of people on stuff that they read. They twist it to be the way that they want it to think it is. Supposedly, Nostradamus made a whole lot of predictions of everything that's happened in the world, but it also has to do with when you read the book and you read his prophecies and what he said. It's how you twist it to make it look like the way you want it to sound. So,
Yeah. Elena says you're telling me, in response to the Christianity's conspiracy, that you're telling me white men named John, David, and Matthew were hanging out in the Middle East a billion years ago. And again, telephone story. Anybody in the Middle East was not a white man billions of, did you say billions of years ago? I don't think they were hanging out that long ago. But still, it's the way the story goes down. If you want your, especially with we're a very racist society. We were built on being a very racist society. Not necessarily are we now, but we still are to a point. But we were built on that. So if you wanted your children to learn Christianity in the Bible, you're not going to tell them about some brown-skinned man or dark-skinned man. You've got to make them white so they're going to believe it. Which means the stories we tell, and the Bible stories we tell, are conspiracies in themselves. Because we want them to believe it the way we see it, or we want it. Brandon says, I've read a lot of books that have stories that go against the laws of physics. Oh yeah, that's right. They are fiction books.
Well, I think and just like Bill brought up. So again, and this was always my biggest question, and I wasn't raised practicing or following any religion. I mean, my parents were both raised Catholic, but we didn't go to church. I didn't read the Bible. I didn't follow. So, but I know enough about it, maybe to have this conversation, or to give you
Yeah.
my opinion on it, I should say, is that I always felt the same way. Why does God let these things happen? I mean, again, newborn babies or children with leukemia and cancer and good people, and I just feel that, and the Christians, and I'll classify myself in there as well, they may not like me saying this, but I feel like the Bible is always viewed through rose-colored lenses. So
Yes.
God, if God took your child, that child belonged to God. And that is a blessing. That was a blessing that God took that child, because the child doesn't belong to us. We are children of God. So God has taken that child back, and that child is in heaven now. But now, if the child lives, then God created a miracle. God was a miracle and
Right.
saved this child. So it's just, again, I think I don't think it's anything you're ever going to. And again, it always makes great conversation, but you're never going to
Yeah.
prove anybody right or wrong
Well, that's the
on
thing.
this
The
topic.
the biggest thing when it comes to Christian, because we're not here to argue a lot of religion, because that's one we try to steer away from. But I thought for this show, it is going to be allowed. But that's the thing is when you try to argue religion, the answer is always God's will, and unfortunately, God's will cannot be proven in any way whatsoever, but also cannot be disproven because He is a being that can't be found or can't be seen. At least in our lives. And it always fascinates me. I love the fact that, people say they read the Bible cover to cover. There are very few people out there who have read the Bible cover to cover. And then it still goes based on which version you've read and stuff. But some of your task of daily life directly conflict with the religions you're listening to. And that should not make you stop believing in a religion, because I think faith is a great thing to have no matter what you believe in. But when you see something that has been disproven by science or over time, accept the fact that maybe the book you're reading was not accurate. Instead of trying to just fly by it, it's as they would say, it's God's will, it's God's plan. Because maybe your book isn't accurate. It was written by people. You know, that's the way I personally see it. What about you, Bill? You didn't say much on there.
I'm just listening. I'm
That's
waiting for
fair.
Bigfoot, so
We're
I'm
getting to
waiting for
Bigfoot in a moment
Yeah.
because we're almost here. Brandon says he's going to stop tweeting because he's got to clean because Elena's on his ass. That's what happens when you get married. And absolutely not here to question anyone with beliefs or spoken. Absolutely, because like I said, I think faith is a great thing to have. I think people should believe in things. I think if you believe in God, that is something you should hold on to. Sometimes I think the only mistake people make is trying to force other people's beliefs and thoughts on them, which again is something people do with conspiracies quite a bit. So we'll get off the religion a little bit, and you want to talk Bigfoot? Is there a Bigfoot, Bill?
there is a Bigfoot.
That's not me.
It's not you, and it's not
Okay,
me.
okay, okay. I want to make sure because I know where you go with this sometimes.
It's one of those things that I've looked at for ever since the video. And supposedly, after the video came out, and after one of the guys that filmed it died, some guy came out and said, "Well, that was me. I was in a monkey suit." And supposedly, people went back and tracked, and one of the gentlemen who filmed it actually went and bought a monkey suit, supposedly, blah blah blah. Well, my thoughts on this, and everyone else who has a brain in their head, is what kind of guy is going to think of back in that year of, I think it was 1967 it was or something, that they would have a female Bigfoot walking through there. And
well, it's ugly and hairy.
So many people have looked at it.
There's reasons they would have.
It had breasts and everything like that type of thing and stuff. And then again, you go through all over the United States and Canada and everything like that, these plaster casts. And there have been experts that have said that no one could actually make something like this. Now, nowadays you can. But back then, when they were making the casts in the late 60s and the early 70s, they did not have the technology to make a footprint with the ball of your foot and the heel of your foot and your arch and everything like that printed into the ground that they can make a cast out of.
Why does everything... Okay, I have a question about that. Well, Dan, first, you were going to say something?
So this video is this the most famous one, the popular one, where he's walking away and turns around and looks back at the camera?
Yes.
Is this the video you're?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I'm just trying to picture this whole. To me, it never looked believable.
Well, why are they always blurry and far away, etc.? Especially with the technology we have today.
Yeah.
That was 18 millimeter camera back then, which if you found an 18 millimeter film right now, 16 millimeter, I'm sorry, it's 8 millimeter and 16 millimeter film right now, and you went to watch it, it's the worst looking piece of shit in the world you ever saw. But back then it was the greatest thing in the world, whenever they came out with the cameras and stuff. So
maybe, but they had a better zoom function. They could get in a little closer than what we see. A lot of times the little waving dot.
Honestly, my only thought was this. Okay, if you saw something like that and you thought it was real, are you going to want to get closer to it?
Yes. Absolutely.
If I'm in the woods, chances are I'm armed. So yeah, I'll challenge. I'm good.
Well, don't shoot Bigfoot.
It better be pretty damn big.
That'd be like that. That's like going, okay, if you believe that Loch Ness, the monster, is real, that would be like these guys that are going snorkeling, skin diving down into that water, okay? If you believe that's real, why the hell you want to get that close to it?
Now,
they do it with great whites. Go ahead, Dan. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what I say. And there's a huge difference. And my thing is, especially with the oceans, because we've only, explored 10% of it, 15%. The scientists, they discover 100 new species every year in the ocean, whether it's plant life, crustaceans, fish, whatever it is. So the oceans there could be anything in there. On land, I think by now, like Keith was saying, with the technology and the video, the footage we have, trail cameras that these guys have, everything that we're shooting, our phones these are as good as movie cameras, I would think by now we would have clear footage of a Bigfoot or Yeti or whatever it may be.
There's
I
still a
can
lot of
believe.
area. There's still a lot of area in some areas in the United States, not a lot, but in Canada and in other areas that have never been explored.
Oh, the rainforest. Yeah, I mean, in Brazil, I mean, you go down in the rainforest. There's tribes down there that have never seen. You know,
And
they've never seen other human beings or helicopters or planes or anything. So I mean,
to
And,
Bill's defense, he's
and
right. There's a ton of areas that we haven't explored yet. But to say they've constantly been in hiding that long without one, I mean, they have to have propagated at some point and come from somewhere. They've got to be a species, not the one Bigfoot. You know, you're
well,
not
no, that's
talking
true.
about one.
Yeah, and that's always been the big thing. Is okay? So say there's multiple
Big
Bigfoot
feet.
all over the United States, big feet, big people, whatever the fuck you want to call them. Use my language. All over the United States. Um, the big thing has always been said. Okay, they've got to die at some point in time. What happens to their bodies? Hence those guys pulling the fucking hoax whenever they said they found a Bigfoot, they took it home and put it in their freezer. They found a skeleton, and it was something they put together and threw it in their freezer. And their plans were, I'm going to charge $25 a person to come in and look at this, but you can't get close to my freezer.
That's true. One of the issues, Elena, here, I'm going to get to your previous one too, because I want to talk about that too in a minute, Elena. The issue with trail cams is the public is so used to everything being fake. I feel like when something is real, everyone just assumes it's fake. And I don't
yeah, that's a good
think,
point. I mean,
I do think that we believe that anything we're not used to seeing, we see as fake. And I think that's where a lot of conspiracies come from. If we haven't seen it, we believe it's fake. It's not real. It can't be happening. Whereas there's probably some truth to some of them. But my issue still goes back with trail cams. Why is it so bad? Why didn't you take off your phone and zoom in? I mean, you surely were carrying your phone on you to get a better picture than some of the footage they're receiving now. If you're seeing
Well,
that.
something more so than that. Something more so than that, Craig, Keith, is you have to think about this. We have satellite cameras that can zoom in on anything. So you have to wonder, does the government already know that there are Bigfoot out there and they don't want to say anything, or they haven't taken time? Because with the satellite cams, they can zoom in on a certain area and at certain times they scan anywhere. So if they had a report of a sighting, they could have been scanning that area at any point in time, looking down there and covering areas so quick that we couldn't cover. So are they keeping something from you?
Okay, see, now this is a problem I have that everybody goes to, and they often do. Okay, we're trying to figure out if Bigfoot exists. We're wondering if Bigfoot is out there. And if he does, the government is hiding Bigfoot from us. What kind of shit is it always the government hiding something? As Dan said,
Well,
thousands of species are discovered every year. They just put them out there. Hey, look, new species, pretty cool, huh? But Bigfoot, no, we can't
no,
tell them about this
yeah,
this hairy thing walking around in the forest that's not harming anybody.
it's because he could be the missing link, number one, or he could actually be an alien robot that was dropped on Earth to collect information and watch us and do stuff. And I know that could be true because I saw it on $6 Million Man way back with
Well, that's
Andre
got to
the
be true.
Giant.
Yeah.
So,
I just you guys. I'm assuming at some point you've watched the series Planet Earth or some of the series Planet
Yes,
Earth.
I have.
Some of them. So you see the great lengths that these photographies, these cameramen will go to catch footage of animals, and insects. I'm saying these guys will set up hundreds of hours
Yes.
outside of a burrow of some special rat, or this the Russian snow leopard. That thing hadn't even been filmed until like 6 or 7 years ago. They've never even caught one on film. These guys extensive hours into this, tracking these things just to catch them on film. But these guys haven't done this yet with a Bigfoot. Like,
Yeah, it doesn't.
yeah,
I can
I mean,
believe that there's a possibility that there are various species of certain animals we don't know. Maybe species of gorillas or monkeys, maybe species of bear and stuff that we have not yet discovered yet. That could easily be mistaken. That can walk on two legs, even. That's even a possibility, too. But just the idea of it being a Bigfoot as a species, I don't buy it, because that's basically we're saying a hairy guy. And don't you think at some point Bigfoot will want to come, hey, guys, I'm tired of you guys hunting us. We just want to say hi. We come in peace. How you doing? We don't want to hurt
well,
anybody.
he did. He moved in with John Lithgow.
Yeah, right.
Harry and the
Yeah,
Hendersons,
yeah.
one of my favorite movies.
He just wants his beef jerky. That's all.
All right, so even if you put a body, Brandon says, even if you put a body in front of a news camera, half the population will still call it a robot, which is what they do because people can't believe, a lot of the stuff out there. I'm just saying get a
Right.
clear image, which is going to take us with clear images like UFOs and trailer parks. Let's go that route now. We've done a little bit of Bigfoot here before we get to Mandela effects, which I want to hit, Elena, because those are fascinating. And I wanted to talk about that. But we always say footage. Why is it alien footage is always blurry? Why is it only trailer parks? Why? And most importantly, first of all, do you believe in life on other planets or aliens in general?
Yes, I do. I believe. I mean, how vast, and it's crazy, and it's this. The more interest, I guess the older I get, the more interested I become in this, and realizing the more you watch and you read stuff that you don't realize, and we have no idea how vast our solar system is. So
Yeah.
the possibility of life other places, I think is, yeah, it's very possible. I believe yes.
I've always figured it was ignorant to think there isn't life on other planets, to believe that in what they call an infinite universe, which has no end, that there is no such thing as extraterrestrial life and we're the only conscious beings out there. And this is usually from the same group that says there's an infinite number of multiverses, that an exact duplicate of every one of us can exist in the exact same place and time with one small detail changed. No matter how far you go, you're going to find a duplicate. How can those two things be true? You don't believe in life on other planets, but yet you believe in multiverses. I think it's ignorant not to. And I think if we have any hope, it's going to be that there's more out there. And why wouldn't there be? If you go by evolution, we evolved.
Well, and look, yes, and look at what we're doing. And again, this is where this kind of, again, me being, raised and taught to be a Christian and believe in God, this is what throws me off is that, again, you see, as humans, we've definitely evolved, right? I mean, we're going to space on just for recreation now. We have eye facial recognition, eye recognition, fingerprint, all this stuff, and I truly believe we are slowly becoming an AI society where I mean, you're gonna be able to touch things and look at things and run basically your entire life and everything. It's already happening.
Yeah,
You
we're
know,
already in the process of that right now, which we're going to touch more on that too in a bit.
and you're talking about a solar system that is, what are we, a billion years old? I mean, we've only been here we've only been here a blink, a flash of time. There could have been life 10 million years ago that already went through the changes that we're going through now. You know what I'm saying? That are on a distant planet, and we will never know. We don't
I
know
mean,
if they
who's to say
exist.
we weren't the aliens to begin with? I
Maybe
mean,
we're.
again, taking anything's possible. I'm going to move on. We'll get back, I'm sure, to the alien thing and the government. Those that are wondering why I'm not hitting the government aspects and the election aspects yet, I'm really hoping that Nikki, our panelist, can get on here at some point. She just went MIA, so we don't know what happened to her, and this is definitely her topic, so I'm trying to hold off in case she shows up. But Elena has a question for Bill and Dan. Without looking it up, what is the last line of the song "We Are the Champions" by Queen? Is
God, now you put me on the spot.
yeah.
I hate the song, but I
I,
should know it,
I
right?
know exactly what she's doing here, but I really want to know.
We
Keith,
are
you
the
know the end of
champions
it.
of the world, right?
Hmm? Of the world, what's your answer, Dan?
Yeah, yeah, we are the champions of the world, right?
Well, you're both wrong. Because what she's talking about is the Mandela effect, another big thing on there. And who knows, who's familiar with the Mandela effect?
You'll have to. I got to brush up on it.
The
You got to.
Mandela effect is something that a group of people believes to be true that has been proven wrong. For example, the last line in "We Are the Champions" is "We are the champions." There is no tag of the world. That's not there. That never was. But the majority of people out there believe it to be true.
They would believe that of the world? Is that what you're saying?
They think that's the last line of the song.
Until they hear
Most
it?
until they hear it. There's so many out there. It stemmed from Nelson Mandela died in prison. Most of us know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Nelson Mandela did not die in prison. This is why it's called the Mandela effect. Most of the world believes that happened. How about the who remembers the Berenstain Bears?
I remember.
You do? The Berenstain
Berenstain
Bears. Is
Bears,
that do
yeah.
you remember? Do you know their
Mm-hmm.
name is Berenstain, not Stein?
All
AIN.
right, now we're playing grammar police. Like,
No,
okay,
no. If you were to spell Berenstain Bears, which is what all of us often pronounced it as, how would you spell it?
Berenstein, right? Berenstine.
Correct. It's Stain.
Stain.
This is something we all look for. These are Mandela effects. This is what she's talking about. Elena can probably hit up with more because I'm fascinated by him too. But what do you think the reason for it is? I thought you'd be a little more knowledgeable of the Mandela effects at this point, which is okay that you're not. But that's what they are. They're mass thoughts and mass beliefs that have been proven untrue. What about you, Bill? Any of those
Well,
three?
the the Berenstain Bears um, in the kids' books is
Hmm.
spelled with an EI, not an AI. Now, whether they changed that or not, but it was changed in the books.
It was not changed. This is the
I'm gonna
fascination of Mandela.
I'm gonna go over here and
It
find a whole bunch
it
of
is
books.
AIN. I can't go on because I'm on my phone's on here. See, I would have thought, like I said, like I'm with you though. I thought it was EIN.
Everybody did.
I think it was. I thought it was changed in the books.
Mm-mm. It was never changed, and people have gone back and pulled out their old kids' book. They still have, and sure enough, it's AIN. Nobody's found any proof otherwise of anything like that. I'm gonna bring up something. I asked, "What is your favorite Mandela effects?" I'll see what Elena has to say here. There we are. Jif peanut butter. Is it Jiffy or Jif?
It's Jif.
Did she spell it right either time?
Did she spell it right?
Yeah,
I mean, it looks like it looks like J. I think it's JIFF, or is it just one F?
it's one F.
No, it's one F. It's one F.
I,
JIF.
Yeah, see,
okay, but okay. So what's the point to it all?
the
I
point
just
is, now this is where she's getting to. This is why this is a conspiracy theory, is because people believe, like you said, or like Bill said, that sometimes they go back and they change it for whatever reasons, and that they're doing it intentionally to mess with us, or some people say it's an alternate universe. And some of us slip through time gaps, or we slip through different dimensions. We're one dimension that existed and one that didn't. There are, I don't know if she just looked up the same thing I did. The first two results were Jiffy and Looney Tunes, because she also asked about the Looney Tunes. One on there, and I remember them all as TUNES.
Yeah, I was thinking yeah, TUNS. I don't know. I now I think of these things.
The
You
original
just
early
see it
Looney
before.
Tunes was TUNES. Yeah.
Yeah, so just to give some more examples, we're not going too far on Mandela. Actually, that might make a good show sometimes, is debunking and talk about Mandela effects, because there are hundreds of them. If either of you get a chance, because I'd rather have panelists that were more familiar with a lot of these on there, to talk about them, look up Mandela effects for a future show, because we could definitely do a topic about that. And everything, does Curious George have a tail? There's
Right,
one
I
right there.
understand it, but okay. But here's the how much time are you going to spend hung up on this? And I think that's why maybe conspiracies remain conspiracy for so long. Is
Because
that,
you're
like I said,
messing, but you're messing with your mind.
I get it.
Because you remember
I
to a T that these things were fact.
I get that, but you know what? If it really bothers me and it's really necessary, I'm going to look into it and I'm gonna investigate the facts on it. I'm not just going to go by what you say. So when I hear something, any of these conspiracies, whatever they may be, I use my own judgment, my own opinion on them based on real facts that I've found or things I've investigated. I'm not going to look and go, oh yeah, Looney Tunes. It's TUNS. Oh, TUNES. I was wrong. Okay, well then fine. I will look it up and then I will know. Like, yeah, okay, it's spelled the other way.
I'll go
All
through
right.
some of the quick examples they have as well on here, and then we're going to move on from the Mandela, because I think that actually would make a good topic to see. You'll be surprised at stuff you think you know that is wrong,
Oh
though.
no, I get it. Yeah, it's
Um,
fun.
Yeah. The Tinkerbell hitting the logo, the Disney logo. She never does. Fruit Loops are Fruit Loops. How do you spell it? Monopoly Man does have a monocle. He does not, even though most of us remember him having one. And this Fruit Loom had a cornucopia, and it does not, which a lot of people remember. It does. So those are examples, but let's move on from the Mandela effects, because as much as I do like them, I do believe that if we went through all of them, we would be pretty much taking up the entire time of the show.
It's endless.
11 o'clock.
Okay, so let's get to some government conspiracies, and let's talk about some things there. Let's go back about, what, 12 or 20 years about? Let's talk about 9/11. Who here is familiar with conspiracies regarding 9/11?
It didn't happen.
So the conspiracy always been said that 9/11 could have been prevented.
Why do conspiracy theories like this pop up so much later than the event?
Well, so it happened right then. You know, counting on where you go, what you read, what you follow, and stuff like that. Right after it happened, it actually went into it could have been prevented, and it was supposed that in the mid 1980s, the government had hired private contractors who were killing people who were supposed to have been terrorists. Well, in the mid 1980s, the United States really didn't hear the words "we have terrorists here," other than homegrown type of people and stuff like that. And supposedly the government had people going around killing people, and it was somewhere, gosh, I wish I had my other paper. It was somewhere around 350 people, 353 people were killed in the United States under different situations where they were supposed to have been terrorists.
What about you, Dan? What do you think about the 9/11 thing? Because you said there's some things you do subscribe to, and some things you can see the points, and some things you don't. Is that one of them?
No, no. I mean, I believe everything as it happened, as we saw it. And I think these conspiracies, they were coming out right away. I mean, it was immediate. So and obviously, like, I think it's just a natural thing. As time goes on, of course, people are going to add more and more to it.
Right.
And there's going to be, additional things. But no, I mean, many things I heard, they weren't our planes. They were foreign planes. And they were, it was a rocket that hit the Pentagon. And, the Flight 93 was shot down. And some of it I don't think the rocket thing is true. I mean, what happened to these planes? I mean, how did these disappear? Where did they hide them? I mean, how do you cover this up? I mean, just if you count just the victims, I mean, 4,000 people involved there in one day. I mean, how do you, and then you count, the countless others that obviously were directly connected with those people as friends or family, whatever it may be. But how do you cover it up? I mean, you're talking tens of thousands of people. You got to keep quiet.
It's way more than that, too. It's the whole theory of, like, the 6 degrees thing. There's so many people that have to be in on these conspiracies for them to be true. One of the big things they talk about with the 9/11 is jet fuel itself cannot melt steel. The jet fuel will not be hot enough to melt the steel, and Brandon brought that up, which is what I just did. He said jet fuel itself cannot melt steel, but they forget to take into account the amount of pressure an object is under changing its softening point. Which, that's science. And we know science is not allowed. Okay, especially in conspiracies. And how are people this smart? Most of these people that come up with these things or tell me stuff like this, and Brandon, I know you're debunking it here, but most of them that come up with stuff like that don't know how to change the oil in their fucking car. Yeah, they can tell me the temperature of which jet fuel is needed to melt fucking steel beams within a building. Why? Because they heard it somewhere. And it may be true, what Brandon says, that yes, jet fuel itself cannot, but they don't stress test like that. A tree sitting, a tree on the side of the road cannot just damage your car, but if you run into it at 65 miles an hour, well, it's going to have a little different effect. And they cannot test, well, we built 3 buildings and ran airplanes to them just to see how they would, react, so we know that could be the result. They can't test it. And what makes these people so fucking smart? Like I said...
The ones that the conspiracy theorists, the ones
Yeah,
that are saying that it can't happen, it's because they hear it, and I think people want to genuinely believe that there was an ulterior motive, that it was something. Again, they love this. I think they thrive on conspiracies and on conflict, and to me, I don't have the energy. I need, and if I'm going to pass this information along, I need to see proof and facts of what happened and how this went down. I can't tell you. I don't know. I do know
right.
that when you heat steel to extreme temperatures, when you start getting above 500, 600, 700 degrees, it's gonna bend.
Right.
So
And with that much weight on top of it,
yes, it's very, and the jet fuel may not have melted the steel, but yes, it gets it hot enough to bend it and make it malleable. And guess what? Your structure is going to collapse. So
the other thing that a lot of people forget and stuff like that is it wasn't one solid piece of steel. Any of the braces in the middle, any of the rivets, anything could have melted to cause that collapse even more than that steel itself. People act like it's just one piece that never would have melted. No, if anything breaks, I mean, any entity is as strong as its weakest point.
well, I think if I remember this correctly, I think they said one of the biggest design flaws in that was, yeah, the buildings were built very well, right, for their time, and I believe they even said it could withstand the impact of a 707 or something at the time. I don't know if we had 747s then or
Yeah,
whatever it
whatever.
was. But I do remember them saying one design flaw was that, and I believe the elevator shafts were in the center of the building rather than on the outside walls, which created basically that center structure was falling in first, was dropping in first. Something with the elevator shafts, the way that was designed. So, but like you said, they didn't build multiple buildings and run planes into them and test this. So,
Yeah.
uh,
There's
um,
But don't worry, my friend down the street who flips burgers for a living knows exactly how it would work. You know, it's just how it is. Oh yeah, sorry. He said, really hot fire, structural damage, building lots of weight on steel beams, shit bends and snaps, which it does. He says, I'm sorry, my degree did include oil changes, but did include structural stability of materials under heat and pressure, engineering for the win, which just proves the point that if you're educated on it, you would know the difference. You would know how things can work. And that's what I was saying by the ones who just can't even change their oil. I'm not saying that everybody should know how to change their oil, so I'm not downing anybody there.
I don't do it anymore. It ain't worth it.
It isn't worth it anymore. I'll just pull in, let them take care of it, and be done. And Brandon says they don't want to believe it because the other side of it means that someone hates us enough to kill thousands of us in one hit. Why on earth would someone hate America? Must have been the CIA. And that goes back to people, I think, believing that we're all powerful and that another country couldn't get away with pulling something like that over on us. It's not possible. Your opinion, Bill, you've been quiet.
I got nothing on this.
Way to take both
No,
sides. Nothing?
no opinion whatsoever on 9/11.
I do, but because of the fact of, like Brandon was saying, you'll learn something about something, and so I thought I knew stuff about structural building and everything like that, and I knew it. But I learned after the fact that I was wrong whenever I read about it and actually searched it and everything like that. My whole thing about that, like I said, it still comes down to the fact that I believe this was preventable by the government, and they fucked up.
I would actually subscribe to that thought. I do believe it was a lapse in security. I do believe that there was a lot of. They probably saw warning signs. They probably saw the things they were trying to keep under wraps. One thing government's always been famous for is doing things behind the curtain.
Well, at what degree? I mean, you can go back and see. You could go back to '93 and say this was preventable after it was bombed the first time in the basement, and we had multiple opportunities to take out Bin Laden back then, and we did. So that part of it, yes, was preventable. Did the government know? Did our president know that these planes were going to be hijacked and run into buildings? Looking back now, yeah, there were probably red flags where you said, okay, this happened, that happened, whatever it may be. And again, this is when you're dealing with the government. There's things that we're never going to know about, and we don't, we didn't hear any of this. So it being preventable, yeah. if they would have taken this guy out years ago. But I don't think they knew what was going to happen. I don't think they knew these planes were going to be hijacked and run into the buildings, and it didn't, and nobody stopped it. I think looking back, yeah, there was probably red flags, but I don't think our government knew this was going to happen.
Brandon says massive
Well,
oversight,
no,
but oversight doesn't equal
they may
complicity.
not
Go
have
ahead,
known
Bill.
it was going to happen. They may not have known it was going to happen, but their indicators at that point in time should have been something that let them know what the hell was going on.
Well, you always got to look at the fact that sometimes you can't prevent against things until those things happen because they're unheard of. And at that point in our country, it was unheard of that somebody would be able to bypass all our security measures. No plane's going to get there. No planes that big of a scenario where you have all these different planes going into different buildings and actually strategically planned. You would never be able to pull one over on America. Well, that's I think what a lot of people think.
Right.
But until something like that happens, you realize, oh my God, we weren't as prepared as we thought we were. So they did start upping. They changed security sometimes to an extreme, maybe more than we ever wanted them to. But like Brandon said, the oversight, it doesn't equal complicity. But government is definitely the basis for a lot of conspiracies. And a lot of that is also due. Reimagine Studios here. How you doing, Reimagine? Hello, sorry I'm late. Well, we're glad to have you on here. We're talking conspiracies tonight, so if you got any conspiracies on your mind, let us know about them. Because we're just fascinated by them. No opinions are right or wrong here. I just might jump. I don't know who this is. This might be Jane, so that'd be cool. So we might have Jane on here shortly to go along with some of these conspiracy theories. Like I said, government is a big one, so we're going to do it. Nikki's not here, but we said we would do it. We said we would talk about it. Let's go back about 8 years. Let's start there, and let's talk about American democracy. Let's start with the original conspiracy theory. We're going to start with Donald Trump right now. We're going to start with Russia. The first one that happened in 2016, Donald Trump was elected, whether you like him or not. We talk about the conspiracy theories and the people surrounding, not necessarily the person, whether you like them or not. Was the Russia collusion a big conspiracy? Honest opinions.
Yeah, I mean, apparently, yes. My opinion, I don't know. I truthfully, I can't, I don't have enough knowledge on the topic, and what happened? I don't have
What
enough.
about?
What's that?
Well, what did you think? What did you think when it happened? Were you on board or were you against?
Oh, I keep losing you. Honestly, I didn't have much. I didn't know enough about it to really have an opinion on it and to know. And again, to me, when it comes to I've removed myself like so far, I think, from politics and getting involved in the stuff that a lot of it I don't even listen to anymore because, like, again, you and I were talking about this, that, these are things, and whether it's true or not, again, I'm looking at it is what can I really do to change this, and how much time
Right.
am I going to invest or stress out about or whatever, am I going to involve myself in on something that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether it's true or
Right.
not. I'm not changing it,
In a
so
sense, something like that does. Well, he's not. He's just out of here. That's what he's saying. What about you, Instigator? Because he just disappeared really quick. He might be back on. How do you feel about that? Now, we're not saying whether or not it was true or was not true. But my whole thing is, well, again, with the show, is how people reacted to it. And what was the reason behind having something like that be a conspiracy if you think it was, or not being true?
Well, you get a lot of people out there that thought that he would do anything and everything that he could to stay in power. So that put judgment in people's heads on whether they thought it was true or not and everything like that. But again, as everything goes, as we've already said, you're not going to get all the information you need to actually make a good decision. You're just going to go with what you see or what you heard, and you can hear it on one channel, it was this, and hear it on another channel, it was that, and everything like that. So
Do you think because we've all become a little too pompous? Because I think a lot of things that have happened lately, especially with government conspiracies, is we don't get our way. So there's got to be a reason for that. I think that
And of
was,
course, we're influenced by the media,
yeah.
and when you get influenced by the media, then all of a sudden you're, you know,
Well, I say as a whole, by the way, Brandon says, you'd be surprised what religious zealots could do, kill thousands of people because they don't agree with them. Wait, that was the Crusades. I like what you did there. And it was. That's And a lot of the, we were talking about the 9/11, and a lot of people in the Far East, it's definitely religion-based. He says, you all know what I think of Cheeto. But I think it was blown way out of proportion for political reasons, but it wasn't a conspiracy theory. But it was, that's where I think people get confused, is it wasn't a conspiracy theory, but people had to call it a conspiracy theory. And I think they did that because they didn't get their way. Orange man bad, orange man got in office. So there had to be in 2016, there had to be a reason. It had to be Russian collusion. It couldn't just be that people wanted to change. I don't agree with, well, Brandon, you know my feelings on him as well. I don't agree with a lot of things about him. But there had to be a reason. So we create the Russia. But is there a reason to say, yes, there could have been Russia? Yes, there was. The worst thing we did was not allow people to follow up on their own. And that was to let them investigate Russia without telling everybody it's a hoax, and it's not, because you had reasons to believe this was possible. It should have let an investigation take place and cleared up, and it should have been done behind a curtain. But you're right what you said with media. How big of an impact do you think media really had on that one?
well, it had a lot of impact, and it's the same way. It goes back to the other direction. So he got elected because of Russia, and then all of a sudden he didn't get elected because of some satanic child abuse, child trafficking cult and stuff like that. And it's the stuff that you see that's talked about. And granted, QAnon wasn't listed like that to the media, but all of a sudden it went viral on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, blah, 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 all that bullshit, Twitch, Twitter.
Well, yeah, we've talked about it before. Social media is 100%, and I say 100%, if not more, if it was possible, responsible for the kind of lies and the discourse that we do on a daily basis between each other, and whether we believe these conspiracies or not. And I went back the 8 years because this is when it really went out of proportion. Obama entered office when social media wasn't a thing. He left office when it was very widespread and growing huge. So Trump was the first true president of social media, where everything got out there and everybody was connected. Facebook was 2009. Obama was elected 2008. Facebook was taken off at that point, at best. So it was, and I think that we were so desperate to believe that this man could never have gotten in office that we would find anything we could to try to prove him wrong and prove that there was something else behind it, instead of looking at our fellow neighbors and saying, hey, you wanted him more than we did, I guess. I hate it, like every other election in history. And I believe if social media had been around for every other election, exclude Donald Trump altogether, there would have been a lot more instances like the ones we had the last 8 years, 6 years.
Yeah.
Brandon says the second the government puts red tape around something, conspiracies will pop up like daisies. Now, the reason I bring this up...
Brandon needs to be on this show.
Brandon has been on this show. He has been on this show, actually, before.
You're new, Dan. No one wants to be on the show when I'm on here, so...
yeah, that's why Nikki left, yeah.
I'll learn this, I suppose.
Now, the reason I actually brought up the 2016 election was because the tables were 100% turned in the opposite direction, and nobody learned from the other side's mistakes in 2020. Everybody was so focused in 2016 that it had to be Russian, it had to be some kind of conspiracy theory that got him elected, that in 2020, when he lost, all these people forgot how stupid it was for one side to blame conspiracy theories and started saying that was a conspiracy theory. Why? Because they didn't get their fucking way, because they're a bunch of cowardly little babies. And it worked both times. Why do you think it is we're incapable of learning from our own mistakes regarding theories?
It's not just the theories; it's the people that are out here in the United States of America who are voting for their president. They don't have enough information on what they're doing and who they're voting for and what the hell is actually going on in the world. Catching Fox News early in the morning for 15 minutes and listen to the shit that comes out of their mouth of the reporters for that 15 minutes is doing you no good.
Yeah. Oh, the good old days of MySpace. Brandon says the worst thing happening on social media was getting bumped off someone's top 8 list on MySpace. MySpace was such a much more peaceful, peaceful social media platform. I wish that would have never disappeared. If only we knew what MySpace was going to become at that time. And we won't learn from it because it takes admitting we were wrong. God forbid that. But the thing that gets me is repeated behaviors. They said in 2016, with everybody crying, you're just trying to create a big hoax, and hoaxes are also, in a sense, conspiracy theories. You're trying to create this big hoax of why you lost. You're just being a sore loser, whiny baby. And the exact same thing came from the opposite side, saying word for word the exact same things. Which is where I think people are on the wrong type of conspiracy theories. Government should not be something anybody sees as a conspiracy theory. Because you're always going to be one side or the other. And you're not going to listen to anybody else. And when you start listening, like Bill was saying, with the news outlets and the news media, when you listen to everything they say, you just have things that fuel that fire and don't realize that they're on one side as well, trying to push that same agenda and thought, whether you want on the left or right, to your brain to make you believe. You need to, and that's why I brought it up, is people need to step away from conspiracy theories when it comes to government, strictly government and elections, and just go with what you believe. I look back on it, and you know what? I looked at the 2016 election. I knew a lot of people that wanted Trump in there. I believe he had a shot. In 2020, I looked at my friends around me and people I knew, and I knew a lot of people that said Trump was not what I thought. I want to vote the other way, and other people that voted for Biden, and he won. That's what you look at. You look at the people around you, because those are the ones that decided this. And if it makes sense by the people around you, and not the ones who isolated everybody that didn't agree with them, because I keep everybody in there. We got Linda here. Linda says, I agree with you, Bill, but the people who watch say the same thing about all of us who watch CNN and MSNBC. And that's kind of what I was getting at, too. It's always one against the other, and what you're listening to is fueling your fire so bad. Any response to that, Bill?
I can't say anything. She's my real estate agent, so, I leave that alone.
Oh, she's not looking quite as hard as she once was now, Bill.
Yeah.
Hey, son of a bitch.
Hey, I think they're all toxic. All the social media is toxic, and I really and I think we've known this. I've known this forever, but I feel like when I really remove myself from it, and I'll tell you when, was the beginning of the pandemic, was we were all sitting home and, you got the TV on and you want to see how many new cases today, what states are, mandating what, who's shutting down and who's locking down. And I remember this, and I've brought this up several times. I just remember this specifically. There's an island. I don't remember the name of it, but it's it's somewhere. It's New York, part of New York. There's an island there. And they showed these mass graves, right? And they showed bodies. I mean, hundreds of bodies. And they got plywood in there. And they got end loaders moving these bodies and guys in hazmat suits. And these were all the deaths from COVID. These were all COVID deaths. And people are freaking out, going, man, people are dying in New York City. Well, again, now these are one of the things I look at and I go, wow, that's just crazy, man. This just seems very primitive, the way they're burying these. Well, come to find out, this has been going on for 100 years. These are basically unclaimed bodies because New York has so many homeless people. They're unclaimed bodies. And they'll go, when one of them are deceased, they'll go to the morgue for whatever, a certain 3 weeks, a month, whatever it is. And if they're not claimed, they've been burying them on this island for, like I said, 100 years. Yeah. So that's what this footage was. But the media showed our country and all of us, that these mass graves they're built, and it wasn't true. But
You
people
can't trust
just
them anymore.
exactly. So that's why I say that's really at that point where I just said I can't follow the politics. I follow what I believe in and what I make conscious decisions on and logical decisions of what makes sense and what doesn't. And typically, most of this conspiracy stuff, it to me, it's a waste of time and
It's a
energy. I
waste of
mean,
time. I actually agree with you, but there are some people with some very valid points with stuff. But before we get to that, Elena says hot take. Social media wasn't a problem before old people got on it. MySpace never had any politics on it. Facebook didn't either until Gen X and Boomers made profiles. She meant to say Gen X on there. Which
Damn
is
it.
true because old people, you got to remember that back in the day when we were younger, old people always tried to embark their knowledge upon us. And what she says is very true because old people are not good at changing their minds. They're not good at changing their views. There comes a certain age where you're just kind of set in your ways for a lot of people. Some people still change over time, most people don't. And when they got on Facebook, they were able to reach a broader audience. And unfortunately, the boomers and Gen X, and especially this current generation, are so easily influenced by that because they still live in a world where half the time they believe people aren't lying to them. If somebody says it must be true, let's find the facts, let's find something to do that, which we used to do too. You know, if our grandpa told us a story or something, we'd probably be like, oh, that must be true, and we'd have conversations about it. We'd talk to people, say, no, because my grandpa said this, even if he was wrong about it. So you're right on you're right on that. I do agree.
yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, my grandfather,
No,
he
she's not
he
right on that. You agree with her. There's a difference.
No, she's right on that.
Well, how old am I?
Uh, 300.
58.
Oh,
I'm 58. Yeah, I'm about 500 years old. But I am worse than everybody else as far as right. I got a question for both of you and everyone else out there doing things. So, have you ever heard of something that you thought was a conspiracy theory that was proven true?
and as far as me, no, I have not. Like everything that I have, and I might be wrong on that because some things I might not have considered a conspiracy theory because I
right,
agreed with
same here.
it. So
So,
in a sense,
have you
maybe.
ever have you ever heard of a conspiracy theory that was actually proven wrong?
Yeah, the Earth ain't flat. I was
Yeah,
like, I was
So,
like,
my whole thing is just what Keith said. Everyone has a different idea about what they think actually conspiracy theory is. And that was the only thing that Keith didn't start with at the beginning of the show, which I thought he was going to, is so what is a conspiracy theory? Because
usually,
a lot of people have a different idea about that of what a conspiracy theory is.
it's basically behind a group of people who create, whether through fact or belief, an alternative version of a factual situation.
How
Now,
many
whether
people does
that
it
can be
take?
he's been
proven,
reading up on a dictionary.
whether that can be proven, fact or fiction is a different story. But based on what we know as fact, they create based on other fact or just belief something to undo that, something to change it,
So how
something that's
many
going
people
to.
does it take to be in that group to make it a conspiracy theory?
Oh, that's really a good question, but one.
Probably the
Right.
media when
That's
it
right.
hits.
That's right. It's the one person. It's the one person that believes that and starts it, and then it
Yes.
goes around.
And then people say, and you can find a point about anything you're trying to prove with conspiracy theories. You
Yep.
can, like, I still say it today, and I still do it sometimes. I say, look up, I say, pick a random color, and they do. And I say, Google right now that color cures cancer, and they will find results. You can look up anything you want if you're looking for something to make your argument true.
I thought you just had people Google blue waffle.
I did that before. That was a different show. We're not going to talk about that right now. If you want to know real news, watch foreign news. And you know what? Sadly, I think this is something really bad that happened with our administration over the last 6 years that doesn't really affect the U.S. is I think a lot of other countries are following what happened to us in our democracy of getting people in there. And
Yeah.
foreign news is also becoming something that I'm not trusting either. And I used to agree with you on that, Brandon. I used to agree a lot with foreign news was definitely something to watch. But nobody watches that stuff. Nobody watches stuff that's boring. They want entertainment. He also says, not even as millennials, when Gen Z becomes president, shit will change. But will it be good or bad? Because by that time, they'll be stuck in their ways too. And they will have the same fight with groups younger than them. Continuing with Brandon. I think it's something that a group of people believes and refuse proof to show the opposite. I don't think refuse proof is the right way to say that. Because they do display what I think they believe is proof.
And they want to argue. They want to argue, like you said, and they want to prove themselves right.
Yes, I got a dog right now. All my theory is my dog, so you won't be heard, Bill. Okay, that's my conspiracy theory. Good. What about you, Dan? Says something a group of people believe that refuse to show proof, and what do you think a conspiracy theory really is in that sense?
Well, I don't know that it's them refusing to show proof. I think it's just knowing on your side, if you got your dog in the back and somebody say that wasn't a dog bark and you had a cat back there, you're not going to waste your time, your energy, having to prove to these people and explain that is a dog. You know what I'm saying? So, in that sense, that person, whoever came up with that conspiracy, they're never going to get the truth. They're never going to hear what they want to hear. Because
I was going to say, especially with that, they would look and say, hey, it's in a shadow. You can't really see it right now. Those ears are awfully pointed. Dogs don't have pointed ears like that. I didn't see a notch in it. That's a cat. Did you know? And they're going to come up with things based on what you can't prove. Somebody can prove it. You heard the bark.
So, are you refusing to show proof because you know that it's a dog, and do you have to explain this to anyone? You see what I'm saying? Like, there's enough evidence here that we all know it's a dog, but the one person that said it's a cat, are you gonna even waste any more time with that person?
Yeah, but one person is gonna put on there. You can barely see the silhouette right there. That was a dark, like I said, that was a dark room and stuff. And there's going to be somebody else there that goes,
hey,
you're
he's right. Yeah,
you can't really tell, and that's what's going to happen. That's exactly. You can see a blue light behind me from my computer. People are going to say that's some kind of monitoring gizmo, and somebody could. And if I was ever involved in something bigger, though, people would pull up footage like this and say, right there, that light is proof that he's got something else going on behind him. That there's something else happening, which maybe there
I
is.
thought the sun was going down and one of the kids at your house turned into a werewolf myself, so,
That's not conspiracy, that's fact. All right, Brandon says, once people who professionally study that topic show that you are right, it stops being conspiracy. And no, I think that just broadens conspiracies. I mean, come on. The biggest proof, I think, especially when it comes to governmental or Democrats eating babies or anything like this, or the sex trafficking, that all these, I wish Nikki was on here, that all these A-list people were following. The biggest problem we have is the amount of people it would take to have that cover-up. That it could not be a conspiracy theory. It cannot be true because you have it within your grasp to prove it to the world.
Yeah, we're human beings. We don't keep our mouths shut.
Exactly.
Well, not all of us are human beings. So that's the other thing. So there are the lizard people out here, just like Brandon was saying,
as Brandon said,
that are pretending to be human. So, and they are out there. I mean, that's been going on for hundreds of years. So,
do you believe in the lizard people?
I believe in something different that's going on here, because there's so many people that walk this earth that never get touched by anything. And,
they're just ugly people.
Deservedly, they don't deserve not to get touched by anything. And I'm talking about sickness, poorness, anything like that. And there's different things that go on. And there are people that are there and then all of a sudden they're gone. And no one ever sees them again. And no option of seeing them that they died somewhere, no death certificate, anything like that. They're just gone.
Government hits.
And it's always Big Brother's always watching. So
It's the same ones protecting Bigfoot.
that's right.
Brand says all birds are government drones, which, that might very well be true too. Technology, I think, plays a big impact in developing conspiracy theories, and that is stuff like Google and your data, and the fact that you can be talking about something, next thing you know, it shows up in your Google feed.
Yeah, and it is like that because you got to look at. I look at it like this. So Keith knows I recently changed my Facebook page to something that has nothing to do with my original Facebook page and had no pictures of me or anything like that when I first set it up. But when I set it up with a different email account that had nothing to do with me and different name on it and everything like that, everything that came up that said suggestions for friends were all the people I knew before. So Facebook has some knowledge of you no matter what, where they're chasing you down, whether they're catching you through the Wi-Fi you're getting or they're catching you through your phone situation, which, so like this right here, this phone right here is totally dry. It has nothing on it. It's clean. All it does is Messenger and Facebook for Keith.
It's just a burner. It's a burner for social media.
Oh, no. It's not even a burner, right? This is I'm going to say this, no one, satellite phone. It's pushing through. No one can catch this. But the stuff still pops up there and says people that I've known through my life and had friends through my life that still come up on my phone and say, this is your friend. Here comes Linda.
Well, yeah, we'll get to Linda. Linda says it's gotten to the point now that many people want to know that we are getting our information elsewhere, not from the news because both sides have bad reputations, and not from social media for the same reasons, but even more so, which is definitely true. But yet, where else do we need to go for information? Do we need to become our own investigative reporters? That's not realistic. But is there any other places to go for info and facts? And the thing is yes, there are. There are places to go, but they're boring. If you want to find something, like you want to watch
Everyone
news,
wants excitement.
When's the last time you watched C-SPAN? When's the last time you watched Bloomberg or any of these channels that in different ways present things in a very non-dramatic, boring way, but people want excitement, so they don't pay attention. And the other thing is Google is your friend. Google is not your friend if you put was Donald Trump helped by Russia in the 2016 election? If you Google that, you're going to find all results related to Russia and Donald Trump. But if you actually Google 2016 election, nothing else with it, you'll be taken to other sites that just present numbers and facts and who won and none of the bullshit in the middle. There's always a way to do it. He also says, Slick Sticky says Google is Skynet. That is actually something I love that you said that, Slick Sticky, because it is. In a lot of ways, Google is, if you think back to Terminator 2, those who have seen the movie, and I think we all have, the whole idea was that Skynet knew what was going on and was able to do things, and it was developed with a totally good, practical means. It was to help the world. And Google is like that. 100%. But here's where we get things. If Google knows, like you said, Bill, if Google knows about us, or Facebook knows about you and stuff like that, and it brings it up, and there's all these things, where do we draw the line? Because in order for people to embrace technology, advance with technology, they have to accept that it is technology. And in order for technology to advance and know what's happening when we say, hey, Google, turn on our lights, hold on a second, sorry.
Hey Siri.
Yeah, or whoever to do that, they have to be ready. They have to be listening all the time. They're looking for keywords. They're looking for buzzwords and stuff like that.
Right.
So they have to gather information about you. And everything you do is always tracked. And it has been for years, long before social media. We just have it visible to us. What they are doing is they're trying to create a world where relevant information is presented to you. If you are talking with somebody about buying a new mattress. They're saying, well, instead of having you look elsewhere, we're creating technology that's going to listen and say, hey, you were looking for a mattress. Here's some deals. We're going to throw it in your ads. We're going to do this. That is brilliant, amazing technology they developed. It is not
It is,
because they're
but you don't
trying
want to see it all the time.
I get that because it's a work in progress. In order to advance to that point, we have to start to understand that they're listening. But a computer is not an AI. It doesn't know what to do with information besides pick up on keywords yet. But it will be, soon. I'm going to get back to...
What are we going to do now that a pie-faced guy just bought Twitter?
So what?
Yeah.
Are we going to use Twitter still?
I don't.
He's
I
already
don't know
going to
much
make
about this.
tons of changes.
So what?
Who is
It's
this
fucking
affecting?
Twitter.
That's what I wonder. Like I'm like, what is the big deal? I don't get this thing with Elon Musk and Twitter. Like I don't have a Twitter account, so maybe that's why I don't know. But
I don't either. But he has enough mental acuity and enough technology in his life that, counting on how he does Twitter and what, they could chase down everything. So
going back
and
to...
I'm going on the other side, yeah.
But is Twitter going to change? Is it? And if it does, do we
I
really
think so.
fucking care?
I think so. And
Is something else going to come out to
away,
replace
but yeah,
it? I'm surprised Twitter's still fucking alive. Like, it started so long ago, and it's been replaced. You have Instagram, you have Snapchat, you have Facebook, you have everything out there.
TikTok. Everything's TikTok now, right?
Yeah, I mean, is it really going to matter who owns it? Everybody that owns a big corporation is a conniving, greedy fucking asshole. That's what they are. That's not going to change. If we use it, we use it. If we don't, we don't. That's our choice.
That's not very nice. I don't say that about Fat Spam Entertainment, okay? That's not
well, the guy that owns it is a fucking asshole. But when you're talking about when you're talking about like Elon Musk or Trump or Jeff Bezos or any of these people out there, that's what they are. They're business owners. They made it to the top because they screwed a lot of people. Unfortunately, that's part of the way the world works. If you're going to make it to the top, you're going to screw over people. I hate to say it, but that's facts. You didn't get there by being the nice guy. You didn't make all that money by making sure everybody was paid an equal portion of everything you made. No, you did it by...
That's always going to be a difference of opinion, and people did they make, did your employees get paid what they should have been paid? I mean, that's maybe the owner thinks that. I'm not trying to get on a side topic here, but I don't think you can say that they intentionally screwed people along the way. I know many people that are very successul business people.
I didn't say intentionally, but they screwed people.
They
They had to downside. They had to fire people. They had to get rid of people to change. They had to. That's what I'm saying, though. People got screwed along the way. The person at the bottom never matters. And I hate to say that, but that's pretty much true. They don't. They're disposable for your company to grow, and that
goes downhill.
Yeah. Elena has a theory she can guess who you voted for in the 2020 election just by looking at you. That's pretty mean, Elena, for somebody who doesn't like to judge people and books by their cover, but whatever. Brandon says there's a conspiracy theory that says we can judge which side of the aisle you sit on based on your gut reaction to one question. For the guys, are you a boob guy or a butt guy? I don't actually know which side of the aisle you sit by, boob or butt guy. Well, if you can figure it out.
Definitely both, but yeah, maybe more the butt.
Boob. So I was like,
whichever one I can use to make her whistle, it's all good. So.
All right. Now going on my phone absolutely listens to me. Well, that's what we're saying, Brian. Of course it listens to you. Talk about something you would never search for, and 2 days later it'll pop up on Facebook. It is trying to create an interconnected world. But you know what? We gave permission for it to do this. We gave it access. We used the programs. Nobody said you must use Facebook. Nobody said you must buy a smartphone. Nobody said any of this. You could choose to get off, and guess what? You're going to live. You could never look at a screen again, and you will live. You will make it just fine. We chose to. We want technology. We love that our phone can do all this amazing stuff. We can access our car and our home and our lights and everything else from it because of technology. But wait, you're listening to me? I don't like that. But yeah, we'll sit there and go, Siri, hey Siri, Siri, because it's not listening to us.
Or we'll post on Facebook when we leave and we go on vacation, or what we're doing day to day, and it's out there. I mean,
Stupid,
social, yeah. Everybody knows that if they want to find out, if they want to get information on you, if somebody wants your social security number, if they want whatever they want, there's access to it. They're going to get it if they want it bad enough.
Yeah, but do you really think that they care that you like, pepperoni Hot Pockets? Do you think they really care that you're shopping for new shoes? Do you think anybody really
What
cares?
kind of
That's
shoes?
not what they're looking
Well,
for.
that's marketing. It's marketing, and they've
Right.
used it to their benefit. I mean, they know that our lives are in these phones and on these computers. So we're not watching. I'm not saying we're not watching TV, but people are watching a lot less TV. I have to believe. I don't know the statistic on it, or what it was.
They're watching a
10
lot
years
less
or
TV.
20 years ago.
You know how hard it is
Everything's
to
in
get
their
my kids to
phones.
sit down and watch TV?
So
They'd
that's
rather
what I'm
watch their
saying.
phone.
It's marketing. They've used it to their advantage. I mean, it was, it was just like in the 50s and 60s when, there'd be shows and there was just that quick blip of a subliminal message of,
Well,
Hershey's
like
chocolate.
Sticky says, a hive mind manifestation through subconscious collective consciousness, which in a sense is it, is trying to group us into one. But I think that in itself is also a conspiracy theory that I actually do not agree with. I believe that's what we have to do. I believe we got to go through these steps. We have to have things listen. We want to create AI robots, yet we don't want to pay attention to what we're talking about. How can we have that? We want them to understand this is a very, very low-level technology we're dealing with, where you hear keywords and you throw things up related to that. This is not high level right now. It will be. And to say that somebody's listening to every word you say, and that's not what Slick's saying, but when people are talking about Google, they're listening. Okay, you need half the population to be in on this conspiracy, to be listening to every word you say. And then you need the other half to be listening to that half of the population. Thus, everybody would have to be in on it. To listen to every word somebody's saying and everything they're doing. It doesn't work like that. It's computer algorithms. It's designed to try to make life easier. Nobody can seem to accept that. Because, oh my God, I was talking about waffles and waffles showed up on my feed. Is that really affecting your life that bad? When you say I was
Sounds
talking
pretty
about...
convenient, really, to be honest with you.
Exactly.
They're putting it right in front of your face.
If you're talking about robbing a bank and the next thing you know you walk out your door and you're arrested, okay, maybe they're utilizing it. But I said some shit online that I probably shouldn't say that I'd be arrested for if that was the case.
White trash Christmas, damn it.
Bye, Bill. I was like...
That was only when I typed it in, so...
Yeah. Brandon says, I need TikTok to get shit down. Give me my wife back. You've only had her for a couple months. Gen X made Facebook and Twitter, screwed it, and then millennials' fault. What the fuck? Well, because we took advantage of it. We liked it. We don't want to admit it. I mean, we are one of the first generations ever to follow with technology. Most people in... Bill, for sure your generation, and probably mine and Dan's generation to an extent, the older people didn't follow the newfangled technology. They didn't get into it. They didn't understand it. They steered clear for it. They didn't understand Nintendos, and they didn't understand all that stuff, or the internets, or the skywebs. They didn't get it. And we're one of the first generations that says, this stuff is cool, this stuff is cool. We want to learn more about that. We're into this along with you, young millennials, to the point that in some ways we're probably smarter than they are. Because we have the backstory and the back education for it. But it is...
That's true.
Yeah,
you got to figure, back then when the games came out and it was MySpace and all that shit, I didn't care. I was too busy having sex with women at the bar, so,
Brandon said Dan leans kind of left. I can't even see him below the waist, but you can let him know.
Oh. Maybe it's the camera. Straighten it up. Sorry, Brandon. How's that look?
No. When Keith puts up the readout here, it feeds up and gets up to the bottom of your chin sometimes when it's a big one.
Oh, is it? First time on. I'm sorry. Cell phone, I'm not set up for this.
Here's a really good point. Brandon makes sense. I've never cared. CIA listens to my conversation. That employee's job is going to be so boring, and that's true. Like they're not going to. You would think too, if you had this many people listening and this many people doing this, you're not going to have a whistleblower somewhere. I talked to Nikki about another conspiracy theory that we were talking about on a previous show, and she was talking about all these Hollywood A-list actors being part of the sex pedophile ring and eating babies and all this other stuff. This common scenarios on there. And she even said, I've got proof. I've seen the videos. And if the videos are out there with the kind of thing, you didn't send them to a friend, you're not going to post it. Somebody's not going to post it up there because you know what? Boom, your conspiracy's proven. That's all it takes.
If I have proof of something, undeniable proof, yeah, I'm going to speak on it, or I'm going to show somebody. I'm going to do something with it.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
But to just sit and say this happens, and I know this, and I have.
And I saw the video, and I saw this. No, you didn't. And you think somehow, and I would love to be saying this to Nikki right now, but you think somehow this entire world, with all these government people, and all these media people, and people digging into the darkest depths of the internet, and digging through personal files and people, and going deep down in the darkness, that nobody has come across anything but Lonely Housewife over in Hazel Park has got it? She's got the information we need? I mean, her and Mike Lindell will just be fantastic. My Pillow guy got all the information you need. You're not going to buy it. If these things could be proven so easily, they would have been by now. If you actually claim you saw a video of something like that, it would have been proven by now. If somebody is actually listening to the conversation and actually trying to monitor everything you're doing, we would know it by now. Are there keywords they're looking for? Are there things you can say that don't get you elevated to a different where people might have to investigate? Absolutely. Why 9/11?
White trash Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. You're talking about a TV show episode, and he had typed in the word white trash Christmas. And he was booted because the key phrase, not the context. It doesn't understand it's looking for key phrases. It's looking for things like that, and they'll get elevated to a point. Oh, we got so much here. He's going to blush when he sees my
I believe that. I believe that's what you're saying. It's picking up keywords, like you said, and it's, so you're talking about a washer and dryer, and it shows up in your feed. Now, don't get me wrong. And I'm with you, Keith. I don't think there's anything so far, nothing that I've seen that's been like malicious or anything on my end that's been really creeping me out. But I will say there is an uneasy feeling in a sense that comes with that, knowing that these things that you're punching into your phone and that you're speaking on and everything else, it's picking it up. So I don't think there's somebody on the other end listening to your conversation.
Maybe it is, but nobody cares if you jerk off to horse porn.
Yeah,
if that's
you're right. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like, so what? They're not going to care. You're not going to search, how do I, fuck a horse, or search a video with that. And then the next thing you know, it's going to be in the newspaper. Nobody fucking cares, because you know what? No matter how demented your searches may be, I'm not talking about you personally, there are a lot more demented ones out there. Right. Well, nobody would.
We didn't even get to the human goat children, so damn.
There could be a lot. If Nikki was here, I'd do a part 2, but I'm not going to do a part 2 because Nikki's not here, and I really needed her for this. Slick Sticky says,
you do it for her for the part 2.
Slick Sticky says about steering the collective into a unanimously agreed upon direction in order to pull something off. What that is, I don't know. Well, I don't know how I feel about that statement. I agree with that statement in some ways, because you need people on board of anything if you're going to make it happen. Look at like broader pictures like HD television. Something very simple. When that came out, digital television more than HD. Digital signals. If they just tried right away to switch your old analog TVs to digital, what would have happened? People would have gotten furious, gotten in an uproar. They had to get people on board with digital being the way, which took them almost 20 years to do, before they were able to say, now we're ready to make this switch. Now we're ready to do it. And sometimes it's as simple as that. If you want to get people used to technology listening to you, you're going to have to go through the stages. If you want to pull off an AI robot or your TV, you want to be able to watch TV and just say, "Oh, skip this commercial." Your 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 device has to know exactly what you mean by what context and who you're talking to. And one of the things I think that technology is trying to learn, and I could be wrong, is to identify who you're talking to and why you're saying it. And that takes interpretation. So if it hears those keywords, maybe you're not talking to your phone, but it's like, I need to interpret what they're looking for. Let me try to show them something like that. Is it scary, like Dan says? A little bit. Some of it is creepy because you're not dealing with human beings, you're dealing with technology or Skynet, as Slick Sticky says. And it can be. And it says those whippersnappers and their combustion engines. Same deal. Same deal with all of it. You cannot generate something new until people are ready for it. Oh yeah, we'll have to get to see Slick Sticky post something else in a second. I definitely want to hit on because we didn't hit on it yet. Brandon says no, boob guys lean kind of left. Well, then I would lean kind of left. I'm a boob guy. He's a butt guy.
Which way am I going? It's like I'm looking at like a mirror, opposite mirror. I don't know which way to
Well,
lean.
just know what your left is, and you'll be fine.
Right, I'll be good. Right, my left, right?
Yeah. Elena says, Bill, to Bill, I have sex all the time, and I still know how MySpace works. Try again. Oh, you're better than I am because I went back to MySpace. I'm like, what the fuck? This ain't MySpace.
Does it still exist? I've
Yeah.
never been on. I never had an account. I
don't know if Brandon and Elena are actually familiar with what MySpace once was, and I'm legit asking because I know what it is now. It's more all music related and artist related.
Yeah, okay, that's.
Wait, how old is Elena, and why was she having sex that young?
Are you kidding? Kids today have less sex than we did. And at older ages, butt guys lean right.
MySpace was a long time ago, and I thought she's a young girl.
Well, that's why I was wondering how familiar she is with the original MySpace, because I think she was born around that time when it was in its heyday or starting up. It might have been a few years afterwards. I am not a Republican. Thank you, Elena. Oh, yeah, she said Brandon was wrong. Boob guys are Republicans. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat either. All right, now Slick Sticky says chip in the brain, metal in the clay, biblical perspective. That's one way to look at it. We actually talked a lot about the religion and the biblical aspects of this earlier on, but chip in the brain is a good point. Anybody fear vaccines and chips and stuff like that?
Yes and no. This particular vaccine, yes. I just, for me, my opinion, I don't think that there was enough time and enough study into this to know what the long-term effect of this is. So it just, I mean, forever, we've had the common cold, and they've never been able to come up with a cure for it or a vaccine or anything for the common cold, right? You got you got medication, but nothing that's gonna. But now all of a sudden we have this pandemic, and now they have a vaccine that works, like within a 6-month period or 1 year period. Now we figured this out. How did they coincidentally figure this thing out? Figure out what works in that 6-month period, in that 1 year period.
I love the original MySpace, Elena. To answer your question, Dan, or to say how did they figure it out? You're the fucking problem. Okay, you have a virus that people work endlessly to try to fix and try to take care of until they finally come up with something. Granted, they have the solution now. They have a vaccine that tries to fix it. And instead of looking at, oh my God, we were able, because of technology and advancements, we were able to create something so quick, so easily that we think can cure us without even having the virus present. We're able to synthetically produce something that helps people. And people tear it down to, oh, we can't be that advanced. We can't be that good. Something else must be going on. And I'm saying that not to insult you, but why?
This is my conspiracy, I guess.
It is, but but from something like that, why? Why create that and take away from the good that these pharmaceutical companies were doing? Pharmaceutical companies, don't get me wrong, they suck ass in every way. but they actually create something good. And even though you're right, they haven't found a cure for the common cold, and you know why? Because the common cold is millions of viruses, billions. This is
Right,
one
sure.
they were attacking. They were able to settle it down, and they have found little things you can take over the counter to try to fight and shorten it. Z-packs, things you can do to help fight the common cold. But this is one virus, so why take that good and turn it into something like that? I'm literally just asking you.
I'm not, and I'm not saying that it was with bad intentions. I'm sure, I believe 100% they had their intentions were great with this, right? My point is that I don't care what doctor I don't care, smartest guy on the planet. He doesn't know, he or she does not know the long-term effect of this. They can't know it. If this is
No,
a
but the short term is
vaccine.
you don't die. Okay, and that's the
Okay,
important one.
well,
I was
this
like,
is, and you know what, and I got it, and I got it. I had it pretty bad, but not as bad as most. But this is one of my problems, is that just in society in general, in just our medical field, everything, they always want to prescribe, 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 prescribe. They want to, instead of getting to the root cause. And I'm not saying that, hey, by not taking the vaccine, or not taking medication, that you're not going to not get it. What I'm saying is, we need to be more aware of our health, just to begin with, instead of saying, hey, there's a pill to fix this, there's medicine to fix this. Nobody, you go to the doctors, they're going to prescribe you blood pressure medication. They're not going to tell you, hey, you need, some of them will, but I'm just saying, they're not going to tell you, hey, you need to lose weight, you need to stop eating this, you need to stop drinking that. Instead of
take it from
getting
a
to the
fat guy.
root,
Yeah, they will.
instead of getting to the root cause, they want to throw medicine at it. And I just think there should be a bigger focus on just our day-to-day physical health, rather than, hey, take this vaccine.
Well, that's a valid argument, but we were talking about a specific vaccine designed to fix something that's exceeding. Now, I'm not saying it didn't. I'm not saying I didn't have apprehensions. I'm not saying I don't have problems with the vaccine myself. But why do we take stuff that has evolved and become so good and so much better that we have learned, and whether it be technology, well, it's all technology related, but to create a vaccine or anything like that, and have to demean it because in our little tiny human brains, that's not possible. That's not right. That can't be done. Why do we
Well,
have
it's
to
not that it
tear
can't
that
be done.
down?
Because throughout history, so many things that we were exposed to throughout our entire lives turned out to be really freaking bad for us. That's why. And things that we were told were good for us so many years, and things, just all your chemicals and products and stuff like that, that use uh DEET and everything else, that had all these pesticides and all this other crap. Nobody thought twice about it. This is great, man. It's killing the weeds, whatever it's doing. It's keeping the critters away. But again, then we learn in time, and this stuff was, approved somewhere down the line, whether it was FDA or government approved, whatever it was approved. But it turns out later on that this was horrible for us, and we take this off the market. So again,
Okay,
that's
granted, but yet we're living longer. We have more productive, longer lives. So if this stuff is so bad for us, they found problems
we're
with it. Why are
learning
we living longer?
because we're learning that
They're going to.
Because we
we're,
learn to err as human, but
we're
many things
what
help
not to
us.
put in our bodies. Yes,
They're
yeah.
going to
Like I
keep
said, I
making more vaccinations, because if they don't, people are going to die, because this thing's going to keep mutating no matter what we do.
And it's
The
getting
COVID
weaker.
is one of those things. It's going to mutate, and it's mutated into. People don't even know there's actually 5 forms of this virus out there already right now. All right, and the Omicron is, they're trying to fight with that and get a new one. And the thing is um, you go into the whole thing about everything, and going back to the conspiracy type of thing. All right, supposedly the Asian world on the other side of the water said that the United States, all their military came over there and dropped that all there, even though it's supposed to have originated in China. Now, China, Japan, most of the smartest people that walk the earth,
Sorry, I missed that, Elena, on
right?
MySpace.
And
Absolutely.
they did not actually have what we've had as far as vaccinations and stuff quicker, but
All
they
right.
did everything different. And it all had to do with what we did at the beginning. So,
All right. We have a woman on a
like we,
mission joining us. I can already tell right now. Before I let her
Uh-oh.
attack you, though, I'm going.
Hang
It's
on.
not Nikki. It's not Nikki. But
Oh.
before I let her attack you, I'm going to get through some of the comments as soon as I bring her on, and then we're going to go back to that so she can, because we got a few comments built up I want to address. But please welcome Elena. Hi, Elena. Let me put you
Hi.
in your spot. There
Hi,
you go.
Elena.
Thanks.
Okay. It's Elena's spot. It's reserved for her.
Wait,
Okay.
I want her on top of me, damn it.
All day she's on top of Dan right now. Deal with it.
Sorry.
Okay, let me get through some of these comments before, because these are also related to it, so we'll get through them really quick. The U.S. military can't, Brandon said, can't track troops on a battlefield, probably somehow they perfected it, miniaturized it, and spread it to the whole population. That's back to the chip in the vaccine. It is an absurd belief. And that they're getting one chip in every single vaccine. You know how much fucking work that would take? I agree with you 100%. As I said, Elena, you had commented, because of common cold, thousands of different viruses. COVID is one virus. And they figured it out so fast because this isn't the original COVID strain, which is a good point that people forget. It's a version of SARS, which they have been studying for decades. Coronavirus is not new. This is a strain of coronavirus. Also very true. Elena, you commented, no vaccine that was developed the same way as this one has ever had long-term effects. So far, that is true for the most part. The long-term effect of COVID is death. And actually, I said it opposite way there, Brandon. I said that's the short-term effect, hence why they did the vaccine. Like, you catch it, you die. That was mine. But ultimately, we're all going to die. And, you know, people are willing to say that when they're, like, smoking or drinking. Well, we're all going to die anyway. But, oh, it comes to a COVID vaccine. Oh, no, I'm not going to die. I'm going to live forever. Puff, puff. And back to, I want to get to Slick Sticky here before we let Elena go. The more of the vax one takes, the more one needs. Millions of years of natural received immunity is my choice. They create residual income for the next 70 years. As that is a possibility, I actually see where you're going with that. Because the one thing was 1 dose, 2 dose, booster shot, probably going to need another one. I think because the way it's weakening, that's not going to happen, but I can definitely see your point of view why you might fear that, Slick Sticky. I don't necessarily agree. I do believe that natural immunity is one thing, human immunity is important, but I don't think that that's necessarily the route we're going to go. I think sometimes we need a little push. That's why we live longer. I mean, when we were first gaining our immunity to all this stuff, we lived to 35 years old, and then 40 and 45, and now we live longer. And we got help. Elena, your last comment before we hear from you live. I challenge you to tell me one vaccine. Actually, would you like to read that? Go ahead, Elena.
I challenge you to tell me one vaccine that has ever had long-term side effects, ever, in the history of time.
She double dog dares you.
Double dog dare you.
Just hope she doesn't go for the triple dog.
I feel like any medication, any and all medications have side effects. You're putting something unnatural in your body. This is something that was a synthetic material that was created by man. This was not naturally designed to be in our bodies. Everything has
She was
side
saying
effects.
long term, though.
Do you drink alcohol?
Everything. Yes, I do.
Oh, that's unnatural. That wasn't meant to go in our bodies.
I'm not.
Alcohol is
Listen though.
crazy,
I'm
too.
It's like a Nikki. Hold on, stop. Who do we got?
I'm not arguing.
Stop 1 second. Don't talk for 1 second. We got an issue with somebody's mic on there. So, do you have headphones on, Elena?
Yes.
Okay, try now. Go ahead. I think we were getting feedback.
Oh, is it good now?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
but
I'm not
there's
arguing.
so many things that are not natural that we put in our bodies every fucking day. But now all of a sudden, it's a vaccine that's saving millions of people's lives, and people are like, no. Like, why is it so pick and choose?
I agree with that statement, Elena. I 100% agree with that right now. Why is it pick and choose? Like I said, with everything else we do and everything else is bad, why is this vaccine the be-all, end-all that we can't deal with? It's wrong.
Like, even if it was a new booster every fucking month, I'd still go get it, because that might mean my neighbor might not die. Like...
By the way, she's our pro-vaxxer. Just want to say, damn. I was like... we have somebody else joining us now as well. But Elena, continue. Jane, how you doing? See, it took Elena getting on here? Screw you.
No, what? I just got here. What's up?
So did Elena.
I didn't know what I was watching.
All right, go ahead. You're counter to that, Dan?
No, I'm not arguing the fact that putting any foreign substance in your body is not, Yeah, I drink alcohol. There's foods I eat, things I eat that I shouldn't be eating. I'm not arguing that. And I think the biggest thing with most people is the reason that it's being questioned is because they wanted to force it, and people are not forced to drink alcohol. They're not forced to smoke cigarettes. They're not forced to take narcotics. They're not forced to do that. But when they're being forced to put a substance in their body
Who's
that
forcing them?
They're not being forced.
Who's forcing them?
They're being recommended, not forced.
This was forced. There were people that lost their jobs because they didn't get vaccinated.
They could get another job.
That's not forced. That's forced.
Through force.
Even the military.
No. Wait. I'm going to back up.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Oh, wait, hold on. I'm so sorry to interrupt.
Hi, Jane.
What's happening? Hi. Hi. What's going on? What did I miss?
We're talking about, it's all conspiracy theories, and we hit on, of course, I was saving it towards the end because I knew it was going to be a big one. The vaccination, that originally started with the idea of a chip in the vaccine, and do you subscribe to that? And Dan, I thought you initially said yes. You did subscribe to the chip. Do you subscribe to that?
Subscribe to the chip?
Subscribe to there's a chip and the idea of a chip being in the vaccine.
Chip.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I don't think there's a chip in it.
You were just arguing the vaccine in general. I want to make sure on that. Before we actually continue and she gets to that battle, I want to bring up Slick Sticky's comments again because I responded to them, and unfortunately I didn't give you guys a chance. How do you guys feel about the idea of the natural immunity? Why does everybody think we've been alive for millions and billions of years? But anyway.
I think natural immunity is great. However, a lot of people died before getting natural immunity, and a vaccine is just a spot where people could get that immunity without more people dying.
Okay. Anybody else have anything else to comment on that? Because I realized I didn't mean to pass them like that. So no, we're good. Okay, going to Brandon's comment, Slick, before vaccines, people died of polio and the measles. We can go back to that for sure. Bring back the Black Plague while we're at it. And some of this, I think, is something you said, Brandon, here is, I'll catch you up later. We shot past conspiracy theories a long time ago. And no, this is one of the biggest conspiracy theories we've got going right now that people are fighting, is that vaccines are done to either A, chip you, to wipe out population, as they said, to make it, Slick Sticky said, to make it something you have to take every month for 70 years as a money ploy to make money. That's one of the biggest conspiracies that we're dealing with right now, even bigger than the elections, because COVID is so in our life. My brother's entire family has it right now, and the kids here do, so. I do, and he says, or they say, Slick Sticky says, doesn't need the vaccine. On there.
That's fine, because no one's forcing you.
If you don't want it, don't get it. And I think that's big. I think that's where Dan gets confused. And I think, Dan, a lot of your argument, and people like you, the arguments is, do believe there's much more force involved than there really is. Most companies that were going to fire you if you didn't submit to testing, if you didn't get the vaccine. Most. Yes, Jane.
If I could add here, obviously I came in a little late to all of this. But I kind of agree with that kind of sentiment, though. Even though I'm someone who supported the vaccine from the very beginning, even though I went and got my vaccine from school, I would say that there was a lot of pressure. Maybe it's not something where no one forced you, but I feel as though there was some sort of stigma that's kind of created if you were told to, like, if you tell someone that you're not going to get the vaccine. I feel as though it became kind of a... I don't know, kind of some ammunition for some online.
You were almost like socially unaccepted.
Yes.
By a lot, it was, you know.
Which I could argue is going to
cost a lot of money. You guys are worried about peer pressure.
Okay.
Well, so you're worried about peer pressure?
But here's the
thing. From every angle?
I'm sorry?
Are you worried about peer pressure?
You're worried about peer pressure?
Yeah, I would say that was the case. I'm not saying that that's why I got it. But I'm saying that's definitely the case, especially when it was starting. You know, like everyone.
Wouldn't you be more worried about your life? Wouldn't you be more worried about your life?
Well, okay. Before we get too much here, I don't want to go into the point of why you would or wouldn't take it. I agree with you, Bill. Actually, I agree with what you're saying on there. You should be more worried. But the thing is, the theories surrounding it that people are believing, not necessarily the force, because nobody has forced you to take it, but the theories surrounding it, the reason that you say you're pressured and you're socially isolated and stuff like that, that was all politically related. Okay, when you were isolated, because you were on a side if you agreed with the vaccine, you were on a different side if you didn't, and that was a political motivation they used because this virus became political.
Mm-hmm.
And because you were told how much it was manufactured and how much it was developed by other countries or China or whatever it happens to be that people were saying, and that, like Dan says, oh, we suddenly have this coming up. We suddenly have this vaccine out of the middle of nowhere, and I'm supposed to just take it instead of looking at the obvious advancements that we've made to be able to develop this vaccine. It's not about whether or not you would or shouldn't take it. And Slick Sticky says fear, which fear is a very good reason not to take it. But fear of what? And I feel like a lot of people don't know what the fear is that they're actually afraid of. They just know what they've heard based on political propaganda. So if you have a fear, which I want to hear, please express it. What kind of fear? What have you heard going around that is your fear for thinking that this is against you? For anybody who fears it. Dan?
I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not really going to say a fear. I feel for me personally, it was unnecessary. I didn't feel it necessary to take the vaccine. I felt like I was healthy enough, and you know what? And again, I did. I got it, and I got it pretty bad. And luckily, you know what? It didn't get any worse. And it was a week of hell. It sucked. I'm not gonna lie, but I have clues that were very similar. You know, that I got over. So I felt for me, I just like there's people that are diagnosed with cancer that turn down chemotherapy, and guess what? They beat it and they survive from it. Not saying all. I'm just saying that it's a personal choice, and that was my thing. It's not. Hey, if you want to take
personal
the vaccine,
choice
you want
is
to be
fine.
vaccinated. I'm fine with it.
But personal choice wasn't our initial argument, Dan. The initial argument was the conspiracy of how it was come up with. You know, and
right.
what they're trying to do by injecting you with it.
Okay, so
Slick Sticky answered
yes.
with the belief of long term. Before that, Slick Sticky, I want to say, I didn't look at it from that point of view. Please elaborate what you mean by going both ways. Go ahead, Dan.
No, and back to that. I mean, I'll stick to that. I don't feel that there was enough research and time put into this, and to know what this does to us long term. Yes, does it fight the virus now or kill the virus now? Yeah, I guess it does. But again,
Elena brings up a good point. Elena brought up a really good point with that. She said that there's no vaccine really that has. She defied you to define a vaccine that has long-term effects like that people are describing a fear of. Yet when these vaccines came out, they were taken immediately. And when I talk conspiracy, because people think this is off conspiracy, but this is huge when it comes to conspiracy. What points makes you think that this one is so different? Why is it government's trying to track or control? Go ahead, Jane.
I think it's because the entirety of coronavirus just kind of became more of a political look to it than what the pandemic kind of was, you know? You have to think, the one place where everyone would go to figure out answers was, the CDC, but it was all through Trump, through his task force, and, you know, and went through those political outlets. So when people were watching the news, scared, having no idea what to do, how many masks to wear, if we wear a face shield, what's going to happen, you know, everyone looked to politics. Everyone looked to what those political leaders were saying. And I think that added to a lot of issues that were going on at the time to begin with. So I think by the end of it, people only saw it as a type of a line. And I think that's what caused it all to be the way that it is. Instead of people looking at this vaccine as something that's helpful or even just through the scientific basis of it, it goes through those types of viewpoints now purely through this side or the next. And I think for some people, that's all they really needed.
But the fact that government was in it and people didn't do their own searching and their own research and try to find out things for themselves is what caused a lot of this fear. And I want to go to Slick Sticky on here. It says fear of the virus, fear of the vax. She says goes both ways. Elena, I'm going to ask you, people do legitimately fear this vaccine.
Yeah.
And why is the fear of the virus outweighing the fear of the vaccine in your eyes?
Because the fear of the vaccine that a lot of people have is based off of conspiracy theories and not facts.
I believe that to be very true.
The facts of the virus are that it kills people. The theories of the vaccine is that it makes women infertile. There's no studies saying that. Zero. That does not exist in the scientific world. Someone made that up, and now people believe it. Like, that's not a thing.
And that's only one example.
And that's only one example. All of these other fears that people have of it are all not scientifically proven. They're all just based on what some person said that was never proven ever.
Now, if these people are right,
say something for a second.
Go ahead, Bill.
Let me say something. So, born in 1963, got the polio vaccine, got the measles vaccine, got the mumps vaccine. All right, it's what you grew up with and what you trusted, and if you trust your doctors too and everything like that, and you trust your parents who are telling you have to have this, or else you're going to get sick. So you go into that and you're thinking about stuff, and like that young lady right there said, people talk shit about different stuff because they don't have any idea about what's going on or any knowledge, right? Anything that does you any good. The other thing she said earlier was anything about long-term vaccines, long-term problems with the vaccine. Well, the conspiracy people have said stuff about stuff, but they didn't understand. So a vaccine is something that keeps you from getting something. They were talking on YouTube and stuff like that about getting snake bit or spider bit and stuff like that. Well, that's not a vaccine that you get after you get bit by something. That's an anti-venom. So,
yeah, well, they're essentially, in a sense, they are kind of the same thing, though, because the vaccine is whether you're attacking the venom, which is an anti-venom, and or you're getting a vaccine to kill a virus, they're essentially established to the same thing with one particular purpose.
They're not, because of the fact of you get a vaccine to get so that you don't get something, all right? That prevents it. You get bit by something and they shoot you up the anti-venom, your anti-venom is more of that venom that's going in there.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
You will have long-term effects. You will have long-term effects. Yeah.
Because it's already been in there. And I actually agree with that. Okay, I realize what you're saying is, whereas vaccines are preventative, which a lot of people don't understand. They're not cures. Vaccines are preventative.
And there's a lot of people that have been bit by rattlesnakes, stuff like that, and got the anti-venom after the fact, and they have had long-term effects. But the idiots don't understand the difference between a vaccine and anti-venom. So
I wouldn't call them idiots, though, because I do understand. They're just not educated in that sense.
They're conspiracy theorists.
People?
I don't think they're all conspiracy theorists either. I think there is what Dan says and what Jane has said. I think there's very much legitimacy in their arguments of just having the fear without following the conspiracy, because it's something new. And some people just don't like injections of any kind. They don't like any kind of foreign substance in their body. And when you're being forced to do something that you don't want to do, it can make you very fearful of it. I actually agree with you in most all your arguments, Lena, so even this one. But I do understand the fear from their point of view. How do you educate these people? Without attacking them, how do you educate them? How do you let them know your side or let them see what the difference is?
Everyone needs to do research that's not just... Well, everyone needs to do research that's not just looking on the news sites that they're always looking at, that pumps them full of misinformation. The CDC is not run by people that want to hurt people. The CDC
they're designed to help people.
To help people. And now the CDC is saying things, and all of a sudden people are like, well, I don't trust that. They have no reason not to trust that. The CDC has never fucked with us.
Because how many times, again, through history has something been FDA approved or approved by the government, or a product that we used for years and years, and then later on we find out that, wow, we shouldn't be using this. This is a killer.
Okay.
That's why.
You started that phrase with how many times, which means you're dealing with percentages. So by percentages, how many times have they been right to approve it? Way more than they've been wrong.
If
So
I can
by
add something,
percentage, you should trust them. No, Jane. So I'm just kidding. Go ahead. I was like, go ahead, Ed.
well, I mean, it kind of takes a bit back, but I think it goes back into that whole implication of fear, right? And with there wouldn't be so much fear if people did their own research. I don't think, but I think the issue is that a lot of people don't want to put in that kind of work, whether it be because they trust the news outlets that they've already grown up with, or been around, or have been following to this point to begin with. Um, or for some people, they may not even know where to look. I think it's the same kind of thing you can make for any sort of argument that has been kind of made before in previous discussions, where the research is out there, but it's not the problem of lack of research. It's the lack of the individual wanting to pursue that research, right? It's so much easier
Not
for
even
your
pursuing the
phone.
research. I'm getting ready to, Brandon. Sorry.
Well, I was just saying, to me, it looks though for a lot of people, it's a lot easier when tablets just get brought up onto the phone and believing that kind of stuff for what you see in major news outlets like CNN or Fox. Is that my microphone being all robotic?
It might be.
Okay.
Let me get to this
see.
really quick.
Yep,
Slick Sticky says, you don't convince other people. You do you, and I'll do me. Fuck off. And that was kind of my point that I was asking Elena for. I do too. That's the point I was saying is you can't convince people they want to be themselves. They want to do that. But the thing is, we attack each other. We go to each other's throat over it. We make people feel like less than a person. I'm going to get to you, Brandon, in a minute. And Slick Sticky's right. When you attack people this hard on stuff, and whether it be from the conspiracy theory one way or the other, some say the virus is the conspiracy theory, others say the vaccine is, they feel more defensive. And they get to that point of, you ain't going to change me, you do me, you do you, I'll do me, fuck off. And that's how people feel about it. And when you get in that mode, nothing can change your mind. And I'm not saying what can we do right now to convince people, because frankly, we really can't in a lot of ways. People have made up their mind, and you know what? They might be right, and the vaxxers may be wrong. It's possible. I agree. I do side with you, Elena, but it is possible. But what do you do in the future? First of all, you don't politicize it. You don't make it government. And that's one thing we gotta look at. And you talk to each other, and you deal with each other. You know, if politics never got involved in this, it's very possible that people like Slick Sticky or Dan would have said, yeah, I got my vaccine the other day. Because politics was never involved. It's possible is what I'm saying. I'm not saying you would have.
For some people, maybe, yeah.
They would have been, oh, I'm sick. If a common flu came around and it was making people very sick, just the common cold, the common flu, and people didn't get the flu shot, just were dying or something, and it wasn't politicized, it wasn't government or anything like that, you might say, yeah, I should probably be careful. It's no different than buying Excedrin off the counter. You know, you get headaches, you find, because it's not politicized, you're going to get something to fight the headaches. Who cares that it can harm your liver? You know, acetaminophen can harm your liver and stuff like that, or aspirin can be bad for your stomach. Who cares about any of that stuff? You're going to do it because you want to get rid of this headache. Because it was politicized, something so big, you have so many reasons not to do it. And people, if it wasn't, people would have been more educated. Because you know what? Most over-the-counter drugs, we know the side effects. We know what they can do to us, and we make a conscious decision based on what it can do, what it will do, what we're going to choose to do. Once government got involved, I think it really ruined any chance of trying to convince people otherwise, because of all the theories that surrounded it. People don't know what to look up or what to believe. And I know that Elena is such a fighter on this, and you should be a fighter for it, but I don't think it's always right. Just as people get down on Elena, too, for taking the vaccine and calling her,
that's her prerogative.
A guinea pig. No, I agree. But it does work both ways, too.
That's your body. That's you, you know.
It works both ways, too. And if this conversation happened outside of a political spectrum, I think more people will be willing to listen and educate themselves. Like you said, people don't want to, because they're bombarded with so much stuff. And nor should you try to convince. I'm going to go to Brandon, because he's really pissed I haven't been showing his comments. So, as far as getting employed with the vaccine, there are rules of employment for every job. I had to pass a drug test or I'm fired. I had to be vaccinated to go to preschool. Nobody cared before it became political. So there we are. I think if there was a less decisive president in office when this started, it wouldn't have been an issue. possible. I actually think that is likely, but can't really prove it. But I think it's possible. And finally, being uneducated doesn't make you a conspiracy theorist. Some conspiracy theorists are very smart and come up with wildly complex tests to try to prove their side right. They aren't dumb, just wrong. Which is where I was trying to go. We got really heavy into whether you should take it or not, but I really wanted to talk about the conspiracy surrounding them. The idea that it was manufactured, and Dan, you started off on the right track with why did it come up so quickly? What was the reason for that? And that is the conspiracy surrounding it. And that's really what I wanted to hit on.
And I mean, I'm curious too, like, and I don't mean it sarcastically or anything, but do you, having such an opinion on this vaccine, do you know what's in it?
I'm not a scientist, so no.
Yeah. So again, we put these things into our body, and we're trusting somebody else instead of trusting our own body.
But she made the exact point. Do you know?
Hold on. Because I also put processed foods in my body. I don't know what the fuck's in that. I used to smoke cigarettes.
Exactly.
But
we're not.
I don't give a shit.
We're not stopping.
I don't give a shit.
We're not stopping each other from doing all that. None of us are arguing about that.
Because a scientist told me, if you take this, your neighbor won't die. And I was like, I don't want my neighbor to die.
Okay.
I get it. I get it.
A good example of what we were talking about, to bring it in before we go much further, because I really don't want it to be, as much as we've had these COVID conversations, whether you should or shouldn't. We do have our opinions. As Slick Sticky says, doesn't care if she took it. I couldn't care less. That's kind of how a lot of us should be, especially at this point where it's becoming a less...
Oh, I do not care anymore. I am so done hearing about it. I don't care if anyone dies anymore. Getting COVID is now, like, you get to pick if you get COVID. If you don't want to get COVID, go get a vaccine. If you don't want to die, go get a vaccine. If you don't care, I don't care anymore. If I get a mild case of COVID because I have all of my vaccines and give it to someone and they die, I don't fucking care anymore. I'm over it. I don't give a shit. I did my part. I'm over it.
And that's kind of where I think a lot of us should be at this point. But there was a lot of fear on both sides when it first started, and there was a lot flying around. That's what really divided people amongst it. And there's not much we can do about that because it's in the past. But we can work to try to make a little more connected future together, and try to understand where people are coming from, so that in the event something like this happens again, we take different steps and we don't listen to overblown media and political conspiracies. But a conspiracy that is really associated with vaccines was one that they cause autism. Who subscribed to that one?
Nope.
This is a lot of people's fear.
You broke up there. What did you? What was the question?
I was reading the comment. It says, "Here's a conspiracy theory about vaccines that way too many people wrongly believe is they cause autism." Have you heard that one, Dan?
No, I mean,
have.
well, yeah, I'm not going to say no. I'm going to, yes, I've heard several. I think everything possible, everything imaginable, and I'm not saying any of it's true, and I'm not falling. And I think
I know.
To be honest with you, the vaccine and it causing autism, I think that would be a little soon. I mean, this is
that's the point with that whole conspiracy right there.
So that to me, I'm like, yeah,
you don't get a shot and go, boop,
throw
autism.
that one out. Again, and it may be fine. And I guess that was my thing. It was just the fear for me, and not really fear. It's just the unknown of, again, what this is going to do to me. And it was just my choice. Elena or anybody else that took, hey, if that's what made you feel safe, and you know what, maybe mentally even taking that made you feel better, and that kept you from getting it.
Placebos are a thing, yeah.
And I totally get what you're saying, Dan, but I will say this. I'm a millennial, almost a Gen Zer. I don't care about dying. Dying doesn't scare me. That's
wait till you get older.
What the fuck
I do.
ever.
I like living. I like my life.
I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck.
Well, in fairness, Elena,
me dying. It was
we were that way
other
too.
People dying.
I get what you're saying. It is. I mean, it is a nice thing to try to care about your fellow neighbor and not getting, them dead.
But that's the thing. The fact that this is still happening because people aren't getting vaccinated is making me no longer give a fuck about my neighbors.
And
I don't fucking care.
And that's where this
comes in. I'm borderline becoming an anti-masker because we could have been over this, and we're fucking not. Because people won't just do what they're supposed to do.
Okay. Okay, so okay, the point with the comment there was with the cause autism was just showing how far conspiracies will go to try to convince people to do things one way or another, and how many people do. The five on this panel may not believe it, but there's a lot of people out there that do believe it causes autism, because somebody at some point put out. A lot of people do believe it makes women infertile. You know, a lot of people do believe this stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
With the original person who said that vaccines cause autism, that person's now in prison for making that false statement, if anyone was wondering.
Right, but
prison,
people, the problem with conspiracies is once it's out there, it's out there. Even if that person goes to prison.
That's how much it was proven that he was wrong.
John Cutter, you go, Elena.
So this person went to prison for their opinion? Is that what I don't know. I don't know anything about it.
It's not an opinion because they spread the false information about it.
It's because they spread it like a fact, and that...
Yeah.
They said it was a fact, it was incorrect, and then they went to prison for it.
This was a medical professional or a scientist or something?
Yeah.
All right, and as Slick Sticky says, that's all propaganda, and that's why people are so ill-informed. And I'm not even saying I'm not ill-informed, because I could be too. Elena will be back with us in a minute. Jay, go ahead. There's Elena, and
my conspiracy theory is that I'm trying to think if I want to go along with this bit, or if or if someone's going to get mad at me, just because I kind of want to move on.
Theory? That's what it's about.
Okay.
Get mad.
There's 5 now. Somebody's getting mad.
Okay, so here's mine. Here's what I believe. I believe that underneath Disney, there are little schools that are teaching all of the kidnapped missing children, how to do the Disney voices. So when the main actors die, they'll be replaced and no one will know.
I don't necessarily think that's I don't actually think it's a conspiracy theory.
That took a 180.
I mean, I think it's a good idea to keep those voices intact.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. Oh my God! That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm pissed. I like the original Bart Simpson. I don't like the new one. I don't like the voice on the new one.
See what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying? But if we just well, I guess not we. I'm not saying that I'm for this, but I just have this thought over in my head all the time. Of this idea that all these missing children are underneath, and there's kids that only know how to do the Pluto bark, and that's it. And that stuff keeps me up at night.
They just kill them and serve them for food.
Exactly. It's nuts. Yeah. It's crazy.
I was like,
all right, that's mine.
I mean, if anybody is responsible for the biggest conspiracy theories in the world, it probably would be Disney.
That's what I'm saying.
They pretty much got their hand in everything. Mm-hmm. Slick Sticky does say it's a virtue signal, nothing more, nothing less. Just like waving the Ukrainian flag, which is a very good truth there. I'm trying to find the comments now because I got a little lost. There we are. Okay. Another thing. John Cutter's bringing up says the dwarf that hung himself in the background of the Wizard of Oz. Who knows about this one?
Oh, I love that one.
All right. Take your tin hat off, Jane. All right. So anyway, I
promise you it's happening. There's just little toddlers in there. They only know the Donald Duck voice. No one can understand them. They understand each other.
Nobody ever could. All right. So you're familiar with that, Jane? Talk about the dwarf that hung himself in the background of the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. So the belief is that that one of the little people who play in Wizard of Oz, one of the Munchkins, committed suicide, and that footage of the person swinging is seen in the background. I believe during the one point where Dorothy and the gang are going past the trees and stuff that throw apples at them or whatever. It's during that point of the movie, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane.
So, what do you think it's legit?
I can't remember. I think it was debunked. I think it was debunked a couple years ago. But for a while,
everyone thinks it was a debunk. So that story came up, and it had to do with the fact that with all the little people that were in the movie, They were terrorizing the city during the filming. And I'm talking about there was like 130 little people, and they were going through the bars and the hotels, and they were terrorizing the place. And little men were reaching up women's skirts, everything like that, going through the town and everything, and it all came out. It was back in the papers way back then, and that was something they put up after the fact. And they actually, years later, I think they made a movie about it called Under the Rainbow.
What? That's crazy. I didn't know that part.
So they did make some movies to try to disprove the thing. They said it was a swan decoration in the background. Nobody ever died. Nobody hung themselves. And these kind of little conspiracy theories go a long way too. This goes to like Hollywood covering up a lot of stuff. And again, I wish Nikki was here.
Really quick, I said my piece. I need to go continue being sick.
All right, you go be sick. You know, I'm good that you. I gotta say, Elena, I really like the fact
the whole time, really. So
I've got to say, Elena, I love the fact that you're to the point you just don't care anymore. You tried, we're not doing anything like that, but you jumped on for the COVID conversation and are leaving us right afterwards. You care a little bit.
I told you I'm sick today. I'm gonna go continue being sick, so I'll stay in the chat. I promise.
No, you're fine. You're totally fine.
Love you guys.
So to add to the image, that is the image they're talking about for the Wizard of Oz. It's one of the images within it. That's where the dwarf supposedly hung himself in the background, and it's a blurred figure. In almost all conspiracies,
I thought the image was up above them, way back.
It is. It's if you look there, it is above them. See, you can actually see it
down
up there, and then it zoomed in over there to show.
I pointed at it my own screen like that was going to help him.
I did too, and it didn't work.
I've heard this before, but like so my thinking goes to, okay, is if I'm a director, okay, and I see Chris hanging in the background, like, hey, let's keep rolling. You know what I mean? Like, nobody stopped this. They continued to film, and they left this in the scene. Like,
hey, dude, do you know how much film costs back then, man? We gotta move.
I don't know.
No, you're exactly there. You're exactly right, Dan. I agree.
That's my first thought. Like, how do they?
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. That would
You're
be
exactly right.
ridiculous,
This is something you can say that nobody knew about this at the time and they didn't see it in the film, but eventually they would have come across the freaking body of a dead dwarf, of which they would have had to go through the footage because there he was hanging and taking it out. It wouldn't have been there. And like we said earlier, conspiracy theories are based around blurred images.
So the other one I can say,
the little kid in the window or whatever with what was it?
3 Men and a Baby.
3 Men and a Baby thing. So
yeah. That to me was more. There was a kid there, and then later on in the film, they had a cutout. I think of Ted Danson there, like to cover that area up or something. So that was kind of questionable. Like that was weird, because that was definitely a very definitive. There was a kid there. You know, you saw a face and everything.
Yeah. So as far as the voice, I'm gonna hit on the 3 Men. As far as the voices go, or make Minnie Mouse's voice feminine as possible, or Tucker Carlson will have a stroke. That's actually kind of funny. John Cutter had to do with the little people were terrorizing the city during the filming. I don't know. Is that true?
So yeah, the little people, while they were filming the Wizard of Oz, supposedly there was like the producers and the directors had to get them out of jail. There were so many guys that were getting up underneath women's skirts and shit, and a whole bunch of shit went on, and they were heavy drinkers and stuff and everything, and they went to jail, and they had to get them out of jail so they could keep filming and stuff like that. And then, like I said, years later, I think the movie is called Under the Rainbow. And I actually, for some reason, I think Chevy Chase is in it.
I know of a Wizard of Oz porn that's called that.
That just sounds like a regular.
I think Under the Rainbow, and I think Chevy Chase is in it. I haven't looked for it, but I thought about that. And I think Under the Rainbow, Chevy Chase.
Maybe I'll
know about
check
the
that
porn
one out.
movies. I've seen them all. So.
And the 3 Men you were talking about the ghosts in there. I think the subtitles were just kind of dark, which is possible. The three men. I saw the picture when I was younger. I actually watched the VHS tape long before it was a big thing when it first came out, and I had taped for a long time. Like, yeah, it's there. It's totally there. Could have been a cutout. Could have been anything. But again, it's hard to make out anything, and that's where our minds go crazy. That's where conspiracy theorists get all their ideas, is because you can't tell what something is. Let's make something out of it.
Hence it's never going to be proven, you know. You know, you can view it however you want, I guess, you know. But in that one, I will say, and I think we all agree. I mean, there was a face, there was a child there, you know. Whether it was superimposed, whether it was a cut, and I know, like I said, later on in the film, I believe it was like a cutout of Ted Danson or something, or Tom Selleck or something. I don't remember if they were having a party or whatever it was, but they covered it up later on.
Slick Sticky says the Tin Man represents the oil industry, the Scarecrow represents the farm industry, the Cowardly Lion represents politicians, Dorothy is us, and Toto is God. God is dog backwards. Wow. I've not heard that, but that makes perfect sense.
Oh, yeah.
That really does.
Yeah. Well,
I'm never going to see The Wizard of Oz the same way again.
I'm not either now. I'm gonna actually watch the movie again just to put that in place, but I think it makes perfect sense.
Speaking of Wizard of Oz, so do you guys know? So I've heard this forever, and I've never tested this or anything. So what's the deal with now? You can play Wizard of Oz with the Pink Floyd album with
Dark Side of the Moon. Yes.
Is this true?
You can, and yes, it does line up. A lot of parts
Dark Side of the Moon
up
or something, right?
Yeah. A lot of it really does line up. You can actually, if you go on YouTube, just search Wizard of Oz, Dark Side of the Moon, and people have made videos synced to that album, so you can actually see it. And a lot of it really does fit in with what's going on in the action, which is really kind of cool. But again, if you're looking for a problem or you're looking for something, you're going to find it.
Right. And then you don't dare play it backwards, because that's going to... There's all sorts of satanic innuendos and references, and... these are things I've heard against conspiracy things.
You play it backwards, and then you go look in the mirror and say Bloody Mary 3 times.
Oh, yeah. Urban legends and myths. Gotta love those.
Yeah.
Elena says all dogs are God, which is nice. And also says, Jane, please continue to be the woman of reason. These dudes need it. And it really... Slick Sticky says it was symbolic with the Cowardly Lion. But, you know, when you typed it out, I'm looking and I'm like... That makes so much sense. It really does. But again, that is 100% the basis for what we're talking about. Because somebody pointed out, Slick Sticky, to us four who've never heard of it, the Tin Man represents the oil industry, Scarecrow Farm, that we start to draw connections. We start to draw dots. We start to think there might be something to that. And just like Dark Side of the Moon with Wizard of Oz playing, you know, when I'm running a karaoke show or I'm DJing or something, they have the TVs on in the background. Often you can look, if they're in motion at all on that TV, it'll appear as if they're reacting to what is being sung at the time.
Yeah.
You know, it will, because you're looking for that. And when you look for something, you're going to find it, no matter how stupid it may sound to begin with. You're going to find it. And Slick Sticky also says, that's just the tip, brother. I can't wait to hear some of the other stuff that you have. Most people can't throw things at me I haven't heard before, and then you did that Wizard of Oz thing that really threw me off there. Is there? Let's go. Is there some kind of underground organization pretty much running everything that isn't government?
Illuminati.
I was waiting for it.
Business.
I was waiting for it. Big business. Dan?
An underground organization running the government, running the country, the world. No, I just think it's full of corruption, both sides. You know, I mean,
I agree with Dan. Why hate? If there is an underground organization, whether it be Illuminati, whether it be whatever, big business or anything like that, and they're pulling all the strings, why do we hate so much based on government?
I think it's just the hate. I just think it's for most humans. I just think we have this a natural, like a resentment of authority. You know what I'm saying? To where nobody's going to tell us what to do. They're not going to tell us where we need to be, what we're going to do with our money, taxes, everything else. So I just think it's just become, again, it's just that resentment. Oh, and in reality, when we really think about it, without government, we would be screwed. I mean, we would not have a democracy. We wouldn't be sitting here having this
No,
conversation.
I agree with that.
You know,
I agree. I'm
so
talking about the hatred towards it and believing it. If there's some big, conspiracy behind it and it's big business or Illuminati or whatever, then that's who we should be attacking, because obviously everybody else has no control. After all, government is sheep to them, and we're sheep to government, as people who would argue would say. So why would it? And I'm guessing Slick Sticky. Can you guess who the wizard represents? And I would definitely say, pretty much government in general. But I'm curious, who does the wizard represent? And this is Brandon's cue: lizard people. He thinks lizard people are running everything. I like lizard people. I like that thought. Lizard people are code for politician election donors. So, any other conspiracy theories that people think get out of control? And Slick Sticky says yes, definitely stands for the wizard, definitely for government. There's a lot in a lot of movies that you can point and you can kind of steer that way. And we've lost two. Oh, there's Jane. So, oh God, Elena's asking if we can do a show that's a roast, and I think that's a great idea. So we might have to do that sometime.
A show that's what?
A roast. Just a roast. Elena's got a lot of stuff built up she wants to get off her chest, I'm thinking.
We have venting session.
So anything else before, because we've ran a good amount of time here, anything else, any other conspiracy theories that anybody thinks are out of control or that people could argue? I know, Bill, you had a bunch of them. We could have split this into multiple parts, obviously, but is there anything particular you think the world is really subscribed to?
Well, the late one, and it comes around, and it's been around for a while. It has to do with, and it's stupid because it has to do with the virus that happened and everything like that, and it has been to do with everything that's going on in the world. Jets flying through the air that leave the trails that are missed. A lot of people think that. A lot of people think that stuff floating down, and whether it's toxins or mind control or whatever. I mean, there's all kinds of conspiracy theories about the jets riding in the sky.
Well, you were going to say something, Jane?
I thought Bill was going a different direction with that, and I was really excited. But I haven't watched much of the show. I was gone most of the day, so I don't know what kind of conspiracy theories you guys have discussed.
Just everything in general.
Just everything in general.
Everything. Did you guys go over? Did you guys go over the stuff that came out after, like in the middle of the pandemic, when the government released all that stuff on UFOs?
Yeah, we touched very briefly on the alien thing, whether or not we believed. And UFOs is a good one. Chemical trails. Sorry. Okay, sorry. Chemtrails.
No, that Bill brought that up. I did have a guy recently, a guy I know he does some work for us. He is big time into that. I mean, he literally came in the one day and he told me, he goes, "Hey, man," he goes, "did you look up in the sky?" He goes, "You see the planes flying around? They're poisoning us, man. They're dumping on us. And this is weather warfare, man. They're trying to, they're changing the weather. They're dumping chemicals on us." And I'm going, "Wow, I didn't know." And
have these people ever seen an airplane in their fucking life?
I'm like, I don't see, any more than that. But so yes, the stuff is toxic. I mean, it's got to go somewhere. I don't think they're intentionally poisoning us or trying, population control. But I mean, it's burnt. It's expelled jet fuel, burnt jet fuel, exhausted jet fuel.
No, it's not. No, it's water. It's water.
Well, I'm saying, where's the exhaust?
It's already been proven it's water.
It's water vapor.
Right, the vapor trail.
It's water vapor.
Where's the exhausted jet fuel go?
The jet fuel burns so clean that if we could use it in our house, you could heat your house during the winter for $10.
He's right on that. Jet fuel burns extremely clean.
I'm not opposed to airplanes. I'm just curious. I'm just where.
I'm just saying. Like I said, jet fuel burns so clean you wouldn't believe it. Reason, when you got a race car or you got a car and you put jet fuel in there and you can get it and put it in there, it will burn your engine up because it's not set for that, and it'll burn your exhaust out. But it burns so clean, there's nothing left.
Going up here to Slick Sticky Eye says, no, when we were talking about not government, they're harmless. I just want to point out, hit something because very, very good thing to say there, Sticky, because government is harmless. This is what I think a lot of people forget. Government is by the people and for the people, and if we don't invest so much in government and believing a lot of things they're saying, our lives will continue. If we just live like basic human beings and do basic stuff, government's not going to have a lot of control over our lives. We let them, and sadly, over the last 6 to 8 years, we've really let government control our lives. I don't care what side you're on or what side you believe. We've let all this stuff control every waking moment of us as a society. Maybe not the individuals on this panel or in the chat, but as a society we have. Government is harmless. Government is somebody that if you don't do a good job in 4 years, you're out of there. Half the country thought that with, when Hillary was running, and half of them thought it when Biden was running against Trump. Like, they are harmless. It will move on. The most government ever does is repeat. Wash, rinse, and repeat. And we just keep feeding into that. Now, we want to get to the UFOs because that's a great one, as Brandon said. Why did it take so long for that to come up? We briefly talked about do you believe in aliens, and we were going to go to UFOs, but I think we got sidetracked, and it became bigger than a sidetrack. So, UFOs. Real, not. We talked about life on other planets, but you think the UFOs are real? Is Roswell and Area 51 a thing?
So you started hearing about UFOs because of the fact that there were so many retired pilots, Air Force pilots, that started making what they knew known. And then everything came out, as Jane was saying, it all came out because they were pushing the envelope, even though they kept their mouth shut for the longest time. And they started saying about being up in the air and seeing something over there, whatever distance it was from them, just floating in the air and then take off like a fucking rocket and shit. So, and you can go to YouTube and the guys talk about it and you can see it.
And they claim that they've seen this stuff tons of times in just a day. Like there's just stuff like that happening all the time, all day, all night.
I witnessed it when I was a teenager when I was fishing on the lake. Very similar lights to that, and believe me, this was something that was unexplainable. This is nothing. The closest thing that this would be that could move like this would maybe be a Harrier jet. It's not even possible for these lights that I saw and what they were doing. I saw it myself with my own eyes, and I had no video. I was 13, 14 years old, but it totally unexplainable. No aircraft that could move like that.
If I can take 1 second because we're moving on to the UFOs, and I want to get Slick Sticky's comments about the water vapor. If you didn't see me run through them, it says graphene oxide, barium, strontium, and aluminum oxide are in there, and water vapor dissipates. But up in the air, water vapor doesn't dissipate the same as it does down here. So I don't know the exact makeup. I'm going to trust you that that's right as well. So that could very well be something. I don't know if anybody has anything to add to that really quick on Slick Sticky's comment about the water vapor and the jet fuel and the chemtrails.
Up high, the water vapor does different, and it turns into, sometimes it turns in just a stream, counting on what atmosphere you're in, and sometimes it turns into a small cloud, and you'll see it dissipate after a short amount of time. So, It's the only thing I know.
Okay. That's fair. I just want to get that out. Everybody gets a voice here, so I want to make sure they heard. And Brandon says the Navy did release some really cool UFO videos. Dan, you were saying you witnessed.
Yeah.
Dan, so describe the experience. What makes you sure that's what you witnessed?
Well, I mean, it wasn't a saucer, it wasn't a shape. It was two lights off on it. I essentially would have probably been over Canada or out over, over that way. I was on this, in Harrison Township on Lake St. Clair fishing, and saw these on more than one occasion. And it was like two lights playing a game in the sky. One would shoot this way, stop. This one would drop. This one would drop, and it, almost like they were chasing each other. It was seriously. I can picture it to this day, and I know what I saw, and like I said, there's nothing to me that can be explained to anything that could move that way. No aircraft. So I don't know. To me, that was a UFO, but.
I always hear that like UFOs come and they stop and they zoom off really quick. Do you think that we've made that bad of a name for ourselves that they come here and go, oh shit, humans, and leave?
Well, yeah, Keith, they know you're here.
Maybe they're our creator and they're checking in on us, like checking the crops. You know what I
that's a
mean? Hey,
good
these people are
idea.
developing. You know, I mean,
Well, either that
I don't
or
know.
they show up to see Keith and they know he's always late. So
Yeah,
That's also true. Brandon says if he were the aliens
damn it! I
watching
thought
over us for the
karaoke
past
started at 9.
no Keith time, over the past 50 years, I'd avoid contact with us too. That's what I was just saying. On there, and I actually have experience. There's a place called in Royal Oak called Peking. It was called Peking House. It used to be there probably about. I was a little kid, so decades ago, and it became it was a grocery store before it became a restaurant. And me, my mom, my brother both walked out, and I was a very young kid, so I cannot give. I've got flashes of memory that aren't really reliable, but sat there and clear as day, not a flash in the sky, huge was what they said was a UFO. To the point that my mom always told me the story. My brother remembers it very clearly. He was with us as well. And she even had the article from the Daily Tribune that had a picture of it in there from the same event that you just can't find anymore. And that goes to people hiding things, because I'm going to totally believe my parents. In the article I saw it, they have for the longest time. That's long gone now, probably. But then you just heard nothing about it. Is there anything to be gained or benefited from hiding the existence of UFOs?
government's worried about worldwide panic. So
It seems to me that they're the ones panicking if they got to hide it.
I understand.
We just go,
whoo,
cool.
Government thinks that about everything. Okay, we got to hide this. It's going to have a worldwide panic. We have to hide the Ebola virus, as long as we can, because it's only over here. We have to hide this. We have to do this and this. The government does that, and I know, Keith, hey, don't blame the government all the time, but we're going back to the government.
No, there's conspiracy theories often go back to government. Like I said, we don't usually talk politics on here, but we couldn't do a show without bringing up government when you're talking conspiracy theories, because
Right.
that's where a lot of it originates. So that's why it's allowed this show and this show only, where we're actually going to talk politics and religion to a point, as we did before. I just don't see the benefit of hiding it. I don't think mass panic would ensue. I mean, we're not talking Independence Day here.
Well,
People are going to be scared.
Didn't you see Mars invades Earth, and the day the Earth stood still, everyone panicked. And the thing is when people have saw those movies, they already have panic in their head if it were to actually happen. That's the unfortunate thing with movie makers. Movie makers makes you panic because they want the scare and they want everything like that, but it's in your head. And if something really like that happened, you are gonna panic.
I'm one of those people out there that do give the human race more credit than they probably definitely deserve. I think a lot of us won't. I mean, we're going to have our idiots out there. We'll have our gun toters out there. They're going to try to shoot the aliens and stuff like that. And they've joked about it in movies and all this other stuff. But I don't think we would. I think a lot of us are going to be enthralled. I think if we
I would be intrigued. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be. I don't think I would.
Yeah,
be
you're going to get a lot
I
of
would
people
be
go top of the
intrigued, like,
building
wow,
and
man,
put
these
up their
things are
sign.
real.
Yeah. I got Independence Day running through my head. H.G. Wells is responsible for a lot of that too, obviously. It's like we go through that. And Brandon said, besides mass panic, as far as people panicking or as something to fear, or religious revolt, and control. That's a very good point here. Do you think it's a matter of control? Let's say Area 51 exists. Let's say there's captured spacecraft and or aliens. Is it a matter of control?
Control over. I don't think it.
The people. The fact that they're hiding it. The fact that they're hiding all this.
I don't think it's. No, I don't feel like it's a matter of control, because it doesn't. Whether they have aliens there or not, I mean, I don't feel like it stops us from living our daily lives or impact us in any way. You know what I'm saying? With the whether there's aliens there or not. I mean, how does as far as I know, Area 51 has never impacted my life. So I don't view it as control.
Jane, don't yawn on me, Jane. I know it's getting late.
Right.
So let me ask, which is worse, in your opinion? Is it worse the fact of mass hysteria or mass panic, or letting humans decide for themselves how they're going to react to aliens, or is it worth hiding them and create the conspiracies surrounding it? What is worse for us as human beings? Is it beneficial to know that your government's lying to you?
The unfortunate situation is we don't have that control.
We don't, but saying we do, we don't also know if Area 51 actually does exist in the manner that we believe it to.
We don't, and we never will, because of the government, and the government believes that they have to control the people of the United States.
What about you, Jane?
What are my thoughts?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I guess for me, for the previous question, I kind of don't see the point one way or another, I guess. The idea of it becoming a conspiracy theory, I feel as though, if anything, only adds more attention when more stuff will come out and be revealed. So the whole idea that Area 51 didn't actually exist, until it did, and it caused like a whole festival for like a whole weekend.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Oh, it's still it's a huge deal.
Oh yeah.
Still.
Well, because nobody.
It is.
It's
but
what it meant originally. Yeah.
Right, and I think now, even when all that information did come out during the pandemic, I don't think a lot of people looked at it. Because at the moment we were more worried about COVID. It came out just around like March or early April. But I also think it's one of those things nowadays where when that is released, I think people are more happy of the fact that their theory was correct, that these things have actually been hidden this whole time, as opposed to what kind of power that could do over someone's psyche or how they respond to it. I was
going to say, you weren't here earlier when we talked about the religious aspect of conspiracies. To a point, we had mentioned, Dan had mentioned, like, they have found stuff that proves religion to be accurate, or that at least backs up some of the stuff in religion. And the same thing I would say, just because you find Area 51 exist, doesn't mean everything associated with Area 51 existed. Because you're on this righteous path to be, we're proven right, it exists. Well, yeah, Area 51 exists, but is it what you thought it was? We don't really know. There could be something else still.
Right.
There are so many mockumentaries out there. So it's supposed to be documentaries, but they're mockumentaries that they did. And it's Keith, it was one of the ones that I told you about the mermaids.
Yeah.
All right. And it was supposed to be a documentary. And they put it out as a documentary, and it was supposed to be believed until everyone saw it. And then all of a sudden, it's a mockumentary. Right? You can't, you push people in a different direction of seeing stupid shit about, trying to make something real with the mermaids, the aliens, Bigfoot, everything like that. And it kind of gets in the way of anything that you can see and know and prove, and, well, not prove, but see and realize that may be true. So,
yeah. This is a matter of Jane. Go ahead. Actually, continue what you were going to say, because we're about to close this out for tonight because we've done a long show.
I'm good. I'm good.
Well, you are. Okay. The last comment I was going to get to here is Brandon saying I wouldn't be surprised if the military has some super advanced jets that are so far beyond that we think it's conventional. It would shock us. And sometimes that might be what we are seeing, different types of aircrafts and vehicles like that out there that we believe to be UFOs. But it's like we can believe that UFOs exist, and we can believe
that might go back to the Philadelphia experiment in 1943 with the invisible ship. Just saying.
Yeah, okay. Well, that works. Yeah. But
they could have an invisible plane now, so...
But we constantly will believe all this stuff exists, but if it's put in front of us, and I guess ultimately it comes down to, and I'm not going to play it, but like one of the final thoughts is we're just never happy. The argument is whether or not aliens exist, and we'll fight to the death aliens exist. Oh, we saw a UFO. Well, guess what? That UFO's got to be a hoax. It can't exist. You can apply that to the virus. You can apply it to government. As we talked about the 2 elections there, everything was conspiracy on one side. Oh, wait, now it worked against us. Okay, we need a reason. We got to prove that it worked the other way now. And somebody got in for another reason, another conspiracy out there. Mandela is hard to say is conspiracies effect. We talked about that earlier, Jane, the Mandela effect. Briefly, we could do a whole show on the Mandela effect because it's fascinating. But that's another one that people think the alternate universe or government controlling our minds is one of the things they say causes the Mandela effect. It's government control. No matter what, we're just not a happy species. We need we strive to argue. We strive to fight. Slick Sticky says the term conspiracy theorist is a conspiracy all on its own. The power that phrase has when attempting to belittle someone is massive. And I probably couldn't have said a better closing statement than you just said right there. When you add conspiracy theory, the minute you say conspiracy, a switch flips. And you need to find out more. You need to see what fits. Conspiracy theories are all about creating a result on fictitious facts. You have the result you want to be true, and you have to find facts to fit that result. Whether they're all true or not, we'll never truly know. That's why they're theories. Theories can't be proven, or else they would be conspiracy facts. And we do have facts when it comes to conspiracies. But it flips a switch, and we need answers, and we need to know what's going on out there. We can't accept it. And meanwhile, where we're spending, as Dan had said earlier, where we're spending all our fucking time trying to disprove things and prove things and tell people they're wrong and tell people that this is going on and they need to open their eyes and they need to wake up and they need to see what's happening and everything is a lie and Google's listening to us and UFOs are invading us and the lizard people are back and all this other shit, we're forgetting to live our own lives. We're forgetting to concentrate on what's around us. Wake up, Jane. We're forgetting.
I'm listening. I'm not falling asleep. I'm listening.
But we are forgetting.
You were.
We are forgetting to concentrate on the things that matter. You know, during the election period when all this was going on, we got to the point that people disowned family and friends, people that meant the most to them their entire lives. We didn't focus on it. We were too focused on what could be happening in something we have no control of. And ultimately, another thing Dan said, what the fuck does it matter? Let's say there's UFOs in Area 51. Let's say there's not. Let's say they're using that technology to build technology for us and we're reaping the benefits for it. We're still living in this society. We're still living next door to our neighbor. We're still going out and having fun and partying with other people. We're still living our life. It doesn't matter. Don't spend all your life trying to come up with theories for something that is an ending that you created. For something false. For something that doesn't exist. There may be truth to them, but don't forget to live. Don't tell people they're wrong. Don't tell people they have no idea what's going on. Instead, say, hey, how was your day? Get to know them. We spend so much time focusing on this. And I hope that ultimately in the long run that we're going to go out and somebody's going to say the Democrats are eating babies. And I'm going to turn to them, or you are going to say, well, they probably taste good, and move on with their fucking life.
I got to investigate this, because that keeps coming up a lot. I got to look into this.
Oh, yeah, Democrats eat babies. But anyway. But that's one thing that it is, too. Because if you're not, what happens with this, especially with the deep conspiracies, deep state, and stuff like that, is you get angry. And if you've got this on your mind all the time, and you're angry, you're never going to get through life happy. You're never going to make people around you happy. And you're not going to enjoy the one thing that we all have that is precious, and that is the ability to live and breathe. So I want to thank everybody, of course, for being here. Slick Sticky says, great show. Gentlemen, have a fantastic evening. You as well. Good to have you on here, Slick Sticky. Look forward to seeing you again.
Great comments, Slick Sticky.
Yeah, great comments. I love that end comment because I couldn't have said that better. It's the phrase. It controls us more than people realize. I mean, literally, if I was talking to Dan about something, going, "Oh yeah, the new, I don't know, the new Tesla's coming out and it's got nuclear power fission reactor in it," and it's like, well, bullshit. And
no, it's actually got a flux capacitor.
Flux capacitor. That's even better. And bullshit. No, it really does. Look it up. It's a big government conspiracy right now. The minute that word conspiracy comes in, you get focused. A switch flips. So stop flipping that switch. Live with what you know. Live with reality, because none of the other stuff's going to affect you. We're still going to move on. Technology's going to move us forward, and we're going to do things we never dreamed of, if us as a society allow it. So you guys, I want to say I appreciate everybody being here. You were fantastic. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and follow if you like what you see. We do lots of shows about different topics, some very mental health related, some just society. It's just basically about people, what they're thinking, and what they're going through, and that's what we'd like to talk about. And
invite your friends to watch.
Invite your friends to watch, because we'll be here. We come up with new shows every Sunday and Wednesday for the most part, at least the best we can on there. Our open forum is coming up on Sunday, so don't forget to join us for that. That is where you can bring up any topic you want, and we will discuss it. We will talk about it together. It doesn't matter what it is. There's no wrong opinions, and there's no judgments whatsoever on anything you want to talk about or anything you want to bring up. That is our open forums on Sunday. That's 7 on Sundays. Today's topic has been Prove It, a World of Conspiracy. This was possibly going to be a part 1, but this is going to be the one because we lasted enough for 2 parts. So we're good for now. Sure, there's a lot of stuff we could have hit.
Until Nikki bitches at you. Yeah.
No. Nikki is the one who didn't show. She's the one that was MIA. She was the basis for this show, and I'm just very sad about that. Don't forget, you can also reach out to Ear Shoulder Voice anytime. Just go into our Facebook page. You want to talk about anything, a one-on-one, and you don't want to actually be on camera, you don't have to be. We'll just talk to you because you need somebody at the moment. If you're going through some bad stuff and you need somebody to talk to, no judgments. We'll be happy to talk with you, or go to our website at earshouldervoice.com. We'll be on there too. Our next topic next Wednesday is sci-fi geekdom, because it is May the 4th, and May the 4th be with you. We've done enough Star Wars shows, so this is sci-fi geekdom and other nerdy things. We're going to talk about, I just thought about it because I realized it was May the 4th, so that became the topic. So we're going to have the geeks, what they love, why it controls their lives, what they're so into, and obviously we'll be talking some Star Wars too, because that's one of the big things that those geeks love. But everything sci-fi, so it's going to be more than Star Wars. It is May the 4th, so join us for that. That should just be a fun, enjoyable show. All right, thank you, everybody, from the chat. I want to say thank you to, of course, Jane for showing up, Elena, who was here earlier. Thank you, Dan, for being here, your first show. I hope you enjoyed it. 1.21 gigawatts. The only thing that's capable of generating something like that is a bolt of lightning. And Bill, always good to have you on here. I know you had a list of conspiracy things, and we just can't get to them all. There are so many.
Well, that's why I sent you the message, and if I wasn't going to be here, I gave you a list of stuff you go into. But yeah, it's time. I mean, like right before Christmas, we'll do a 24-hour thing where we do conspiracy theories and just like stay up and drink. So.
Hey, we could do that too. All right, I want to thank everybody for being here. We're going to run the credits here. I'm not doing anything else. We're just going to run the credits because we want to be done with this. The cast and the credits, obviously. The panelist list and the credits is way off because it all changed. But anyway, we're running them anyway.
When you're alone and feeling down, and you're 10 feet underground, when you're so deep you're about to drown, when you're in the lost and found, 'cause heartaches only last a day. Ooh, but your heart will never fade away. Go out and find your way. Don't let them take your soul away. Not a week, not a single day. Hold true to what you wanna be. Never let go, and here's the key. Be you, yeah, only you. Only you. Be you, yeah, only you. Only you.
So, Dan, how was it?
It was good. It was fun. It was good.
All right,
I enjoyed it.
good. I really wish we'd had Elena and Nikki on for the show, because they are definitely the heated ones. They would have gotten, it would have been really going back and forth. It's a little hard with us three, but I think we pulled it off. I think it went well, because we're kind of on the same side, and they were our opposition.
Right.
which was kind of needed for the back and forth. But still, we covered a bit. We didn't get as deep because we agreed on too much in a lot of ways.
No, it was enjoyable. I
ways.
liked it. I'd like to come back, do it again. You know.
Oh, we'd love to have you back, Dan. You were great. And Jane,
I don't know
glad
about
you
I don't
made
know
it on
about the
here.
I don't know about the
Yeah, I'm happy.
sci-fi Star Wars stuff because that's not really my.
Well,
forte.
then you
I'm not
wouldn't
a-
be on that show
Well,
now, would you?
Right, exactly. I could be on maybe for controversy or something, but
I don't know what
Sundays
that
are
was.
usually fun. Sunday open forums is always good too. I
Yeah,
feel
open
as
forums are
though
fun.
Bill knows.
I
Sunday.
don't know what that noise is. Is that Bill?
I think Bill knows because he
me.
started
No,
laughing.
there it is.
All right, so I've walked away 5 times, and 4 times. One time I had to go to the bathroom. Don't get me wrong, but 4 times people beating on my back door. So Keith, you know where I live on the corner there. So I put a big bag of cans and bottles out and put on there. All right, $20 in here. Go turn them in and bring me $5 back. You know, and being honest, see, and they keep knocking on my fucking back door and going, "Can I take these?"
That's what they do when you broadcast it. Everybody wants to come.
Yeah. You kind
I
of
try to be
invited a
nice,
problem
you know. I
there.
left them out there. They're between the sidewalk and the street out there, and it says, you know, just be honest and turn them in and bring me $5 back, and you make $15. I can't go stand up there and do anything anymore because of my legs and my back and stuff. So I try to do, and they keep beating on the
They just
fucking door.
won't leave you
So, like,
alone. Just won't leave you
well,
alone.
the last one just now, I just told him, I said, tomorrow, I said, my dog will be here. I said, don't do this anymore.
Smart move for sure.
All right, Keith. I'm
Well,
gonna let you
I
guys
think-
go.
Well, he sat there and looked at me and goes, I already know
Nice
your
to meet
dog's
you.
huge. You know, it's like,
You're
yeah,
not supposed to be say bye. You don't know you're live right now. Remember, you got to fake like you're not live.